Hello, everybody. I'm Jalen, and we just recently hit day 500 over here in the jungle. I had moved away from everything I had built before and started completely fresh with nothing over here, and got this whole area built up in 500 days, and I'm just really liking the area, and I thought it'd be fun to put all the episodes together into a nice full-length movie to have in the background while you sleep or game or just about anything, so hope you enjoy. Hello, everybody. I'm Jalen, and welcome to episode 1 of season 3 of my Minecraft survival world here. Been in this world for a little over 2 years now, 4,000 Minecraft days, and for the second time I'm going to move away from everything I've built and just start completely fresh. Get that nice early game Minecraft feel going on, and some of you might be familiar with this area here, as it is the area that made me choose this seed in the first place. And here I am over 2 years later and haven't built anything yet. So I'm real excited to get going over here. And we'll be visiting areas that I've been to before, including this area and the Mesa and the desert. But I won't be visiting anywhere I've built anything or using any of my old materials or anything like that. Starting completely fresh, so. I'm also liking the idea that I'm less than 1,000 blocks away from spawn, so when I do decide to go back, it'll be a lot easier to start connecting things up and just keeping my world kind of close-knit. I'm trying to not build too far away from spawn anymore at this point, so. But yeah, I'm real excited for a fresh start here, so we're just going to jump right in. And I will kind of take you through a little bit of the day one process here. I know we've all seen it lots of times, but it is the one time you get to do it, and it's a very fun part of Minecraft. And I will point out, I did toss these golden carrots, so I am starting completely fresh, even if I live to regret that here in just a second. But yeah, just got my wooden pickaxe, found a spot to dig in some stone, which ends up being my hidey hole here in a bit. And I kind of got zoned out while I was doing that, and all of a sudden it was dark. I didn't start this day right in the morning, so darkness really crept up on me there, and I had to try to find a sheep, so I went out hunting, and I found this cow and sheep right away, and a baby sheep, which didn't do me any good. Then I had to look all over and was having no luck with sheep, but I did end up having a village over here, a little ways away from where I was. This ended up being quite the sequence of events here. Down to 1 heart on night 1. I don't claim to be very good at this game sometimes. I really didn't want to die and go back to spawn, and it wasn't letting me sleep because there were monsters nearby, and I thought I got far enough away where I'd be able to sneak a sleep in. Probably wasn't the smartest move in the world. Down to half a heart. I'm running around, but I got away barely. Continued my animal hunting and village raiding. And I did go ahead and take the day count off the screen just because I felt like it was kind of breaking the immersion of being a brand new season here. I will go ahead and pop it up every now and then, show where we're at. This is me from the future talking. And I did end up going 100 days for this episode. I was not planning on it, but it's how it turned out. So we got a lot ahead of us here. But we did find this village, which I was aware of this village over here on the ocean, but I knew I hadn't raided it. It is a good distance from where I'm going to be building, but it's always nice getting a couple good village raids in early on. And I was doing lots of hunting just to get a nice early start on my food situation. And yeah, you can see our jungle mountains back there looking really cool. And one big advantage to living in the jungle mountains is just the great access to coal and iron. And I end up taking quite a few trips up here throughout this episode, this one being the longest one, kind of get nice and established. And I am sleeping through these early days. I do like to get to a point where I don't have to sleep as much, but just to be safe, we'll sleep through the early days. And yeah, like I said, I got a pretty good little stock of iron and coal for so early in the game. It was real handy. So I got some food and iron cooking up, and while that was going on, I figured I better get chopping some trees because I want to open up this area because this is where I plan on being my farm area. My plan overall is to just have a whole bunch of buildings built up the mountains in this whole jungle area. Have a couple different areas, I think, over time, but we're going to start with the farm area down here, and we got things opened up pretty good. And it was this point that I was really starting to get my brain clicking on how this area was really going to turn out, and I was really getting excited. But I had to do a whole bunch of dirt digging and a bunch of dirt placing. We're going to have to do a bunch of terraforming to make this farm work. More than I realized when I really started the project. It just kept growing. And this felt like a lot of work. Especially early on doing a project like this, you just never have as much dirt as you think you do. It takes a lot of dirt to do something like this. And I am going to expand on this, but eventually we are going to have a rock wall going off the end, and that got me thinking, I need to get established with a good amount of stone. So I always like to just mine down in the early days and start filling my chest with the different stone types and a few of the different minerals. And I did go all the way down to level -54. And we found our first diamonds. I wasn't even planning on that this trip. Nice little vein of 6. As well as getting some redstone, start working on my level grind. More on that later. And yeah, got a room dug out until I ran out of tools, but at least now I got a nice little start on some of the different stone types here. And while I was on the subject of gathering building blocks, I wanted to head out to the Mesa on this day, but I did get sidetracked on my way out and decided to gather a few animals. Sometimes I wait too long before I actually do that, so I'm going to try to stay ahead of that a little bit. Whether I do or not, we'll see. But yeah, pretty much headed back out towards the village that we found earlier and did some serious terracotta mining. Terracotta is going to be one of the main blocks in my build over here. I spent a good couple days out here on this trip, and this wasn't the last time I'll be coming out here. But I was ready to get building at this point, and you can see our chest is filled up pretty good with the nice basic materials. So I was ready to start placing some blocks, and we're just going to start with the hidey hole here. And my whole concept for this area is I'm going to build a bunch of not humongous buildings, so kind of on a smaller scale, but it's going to be a big project. So imagine this one building and then just build them all off of each other, connect them, kind of just have different pods of little groups of buildings. Because I don't want to build in too big a scale, because I don't want to dwarf the mountains behind it. But it is going to be fun just kind of building the buildings off of each other here and trying to build at different angles, like with this barn here. I've never built a angled barn like this before. I think it could be cool. I can already envision a waterfall coming behind there. You know I like my waterfalls. Then I got going on setting up my path. I like to get my path established nice and early just because it really gives you a visual for how things are going to lay out and where to put things. And I just always find it to be one of my favorite parts of a project. Then I got expanding on some of these buildings here. Just kind of figuring out how I'm going to lay things out. And I will adjust some of the heights. They won't all be at the same height, but at this point I was already running low on terracotta, but I did have enough to get a few more in here, and you can kind of see what I'm going for. And just imagine if I just keep doing this, we'll just have a cool, colorful jungle of different colored buildings, and I think the scale's working out really good. But yeah, like I said, I was out of terracotta at that point. I had to take a whole nother trip out here, and let me just say, every time I do this, it's a long day. I also went to the flower forest nearby because I needed a bunch of dyes, and this is a really cool area as well. I do envision coming down here doing something at some point. Figured to top the day off in the mountains, trying to stay up on my coal and iron count as well. And I went down and finally did some branch mining, figuring I wouldn't mind finding some diamonds, and I was hoping to just chip away at my levels. So we did do a good amount of mining down here and found a few diamonds. I think we ended up with 14 on this trip. As well as getting just the different stone types, a bunch of tuff, one of my favorite blocks. And it was nice, we found these lava pockets down here. Nice, easy access to lava is always nice. And yeah, off camera, I didn't get the clip of me getting the wheat planted here, and I moved my animals down below my little crop farm there, just so they're out of the way. I'll find a spot for the animals here before too long. But I was in building mode, and I was really liking this layout. My plan for the episode was maybe just to work on these buildings, but I couldn't help myself. I got placing blocks here, and I just really wanted to get established my plans for the area, so I'm just going to let it play out for a second and let you see how much progress I made. And this, like I said, this is where the episode took a turn. I was not planning on going for 100 days this episode, but then I just started having too much fun. Trying to end up with a mix of some areas with some nice tight packed buildings, but also plenty of nice open views. And obviously I'll be bringing the trees back, and right here is kind of where I had the epiphany of taking some of the buildings and just having land on top rather than having to worry about a roof. And I just like building into the hillside. Leaves you options as far as if you want to do micro farms and stuff like that later, you can just always dig back into the hill. And this also lets me keep a nice natural look, gives me more spots to be able to squeeze some trees in, because I don't want to get rid of the jungle theme. But then I just kept placing buildings and expanding my path to be 5 wide all the way through. I've decided I think 5 wide is kind of my new 3 wide path. I used to do 3 wide all the time, but 5 just always looks so much better. And I'm going kind of crazy with the colors, and I can definitely change these buildings when I come and make them whatever their specific purpose is going to be, but I really like the idea of just having the nice colorful buildings, trying to have a mix of a good mix of the warm colors on the cooler colors. Again, another trip out to get a bunch more terracotta, because I wanted to keep placing buildings. I couldn't help myself. And again, my plan going into the episode was just to focus on those first few buildings, but I obviously decided to go with more of a macro approach and just really lay things out, and I'm really having fun with this idea, actually. Just really give you a visual for what my plan for the overall area is, and then we'll be coming through individually and bringing the details out. Next episode is going to be a very detail-oriented episode, but I am really liking how things are looking down here. Just all the different colors. Any excuse to get colors. I know I say that all the time. It's a challenge. And obviously we'll be doing some textures and all that on these buildings as we fill them with lots of micro farms, lots of... I haven't mentioned, copper golems are going to be one of my main inhabitants of the area down here. Like a bunch of different separate golem sorting areas and micro farms and all that, give them a purpose. I've been using this tree as my view spot, and oh man, I just think this looks so cool. And that's without them even having doors and windows, which we'll be coming back and adding shortly. But as good of a building mode as I was in there, sometimes in Minecraft you gotta force yourself to do some chores. Gotta keep up with the busy work, so I just put my head down and got to work. Trying to get the different stone types just to have handy, as well as the different wood types. And I hadn't traveled out this direction in a long time. I feel like I did it before, and for some reason I feel like I do remember there was a dark oak forest out there, but I thought it'd be fun just to head out this way, see what we got. And this is a humongous ocean. Almost too big. I wish it was a little smaller, actually. It kind of makes the trip a little too far to want to build anything out here. Sleep just to be safe. But we do have this really big plains area here, which I feel like you don't see areas like this as often anymore in Minecraft. Just big open areas, more of a blank slate to build on. I will be keeping that in mind. And it has this really cool river with the flower forest along the side and the village up here right on the river. Pretty cool little village, actually. I'll go ahead and save you the process of me raiding it, but I did. Then kept going down the river into this cool dark oak forest, which I was happy to find. And yeah, it is just a really cool little river network here. I got my dark oak wood, and I saw some pale oak poking above the trees there, luckily. So I got chopping some pale oak here. Unfortunately, let it become night, and I didn't realize it got so late. I thought I was right on time with my sleep here. But again, not very smart. Dark oak and pale oak forests are just super dangerous, and I just didn't even look at my surroundings. I had my inventory up. There was nothing I could do. I was so upset. Not only was I level 32, but I respawned all the way back at my spawn area. I was really hoping to not come back here. I went all Season 2 without coming back here because I had the rule of not breaking any beds. So I'm going to have to pick up that rule again for this season here because it's no fun coming back here. I was really trying to not see any of this until I was back, but hey, I guess in some ways it's a sneak peek for some of you newbies out there that aren't familiar with what I've done so far. I did allow myself just to get a little bit of a survival kit to be able to get my stuff. Then I started the long trip across the ocean here. It is kind of fun being relegated again to boats, and I need to get a horse here. It is fun being away from the elite for a little bit. And I forgot, early on in the world I built that little canal to connect me to this ocean here, and it came in handy at this point. I had forgotten a bed though. Luckily I had that village to sleep in. But I made my way back, got to our stuff, and realized it was being guarded by a zombie wearing my armor and with my sword. As well as a baby zombie, unfortunately. I was stressed. I did not want to die again. I was running around trying to pick up my stuff, trying to zigzag. Almost got hit by that guy. 1 or 2 hits by a zombie with a sword will kill you with nothing on. I thought I was safe here for a second. I thought I had heard him die, but no. There he did. But I was still scared of this zombie. I ended up making almost a whole set of armor just to fight him. Get my stuff back. But yeah, lesson learned. I'm going to try my best to not break any beds I sleep in. That way, if I do die, which unfortunately does tend to happen with me, I won't spawn all the way back at spawn area. But yeah, got a bunch of pale moss and climbed up one of these nearby mountains, got a little bit of spruce. So we're feeling pretty good on the wood types at this point. Made my way all the way back home. You can see I was 3,000 blocks away from our jungle area over here. And yeah, nice to be adding to my collection of different blocks to be able to use in building. And I did plant a couple double spruce here just to really get some spruce wood, because you gotta have lots of spruce wood. And I knew I was gonna want to be expanding on this farm area, so I got chopping a whole bunch of trees down here. And that is one annoying thing about this jungle, is there's lots of these giant oak trees, and they're slightly annoying. And I was gonna need a bunch of dirt as well, so I dug out behind some of the buildings that were built against the mountain there just to get a little bit of dirt, but it was nowhere near enough. As well as just kind of planning where I'm going to have paths in the future. But yeah, I was ready to expand on this farm a little bit. And I did decide I was going to have the path start going up the mountain here a little bit, so I started planning that out a little bit, as well as expanding the dirt down here quite a bit to get more space for farms and to be able to have a nice path all the way along the bottom here that will be on top of a little rock wall with waterfalls going down it that originate back here behind the barn. I know I mentioned earlier when I put that barn in, I just couldn't help but want to put a waterfall in that little gap there. Unfortunately, I lost the main clip of me putting a lot of it together up there with the rocks and stuff, but we got it winding down the mountain here, killing off zombies, but not creepers. Things were getting ugly. At least this time I spawned right next to my stuff, but like I said, I don't claim to be good at this game sometimes. I just work through the night, I stay pretty loose. Especially at this point since I've already died. I'm just not playing very careful. But I always enjoy doing a waterfall. We got a couple nice little streams coming down that are gonna flow through the farm here. And just getting that blue mixed in, it just always looks really good. Splitting up the farm with path as well, and then putting the individual fields, I'm just using leaves to kind of separate a few separate fields here. And obviously kind of going with the jungle wood trim with the birch fence is going to be kind of the theme on the paths, and I think it looks good. As well as get the basics of the rock wall in. Again, this episode's ending up not being very detailed on a lot of things, and I'm just really trying to get a big layout in, I guess you would say. And I think next episode you'll see we get a lot more details going on, but I'm just really trying to lay out my plans. And yeah, got this main big field all hydrated and starting to get it planted with my wheat, multiplying that slowly but surely. And yeah, this is the biggest section of them all, and I want that to be a big wheat field with the waterfall coming behind and this cool little stream. It's going to look really cool once you get some foliage down here. And a few other little smaller sections just sectioned off. I just want the big wheat field just for looks more than anything. And we'll also have a fairly sizable melon field, I think, and a pumpkin field just because I use them for trading. But yeah, this path down here just looks really cool, and it goes into this tunnel over here that comes out the backside of the mountain, so that'll be fun for the future. Cool natural tunnel there. So yeah, I'm just really liking the area down here. We got to come down and hydrate the fields and start getting our other crops planted, but I went away to cook dinner, and I could have sworn I had paused. Nothing worse than coming back to the death message. And I was scared. I didn't know how long I had died. I didn't know if I was going to have my stuff still, but luckily I did. But while I was hastily running around, I didn't have my headset on, realized I didn't have my armor or my tools, so I knew there was a zombie around and he got me. This could have been a bad situation. I didn't even think about it, and I just respawned right away. I thought he was gone for some reason. I thought I lucked out, but no, he was just staying hidden. Then I respawned right away. Don't ask me why, but I dodged him this time. Made my way down the stairs and got rid of the guy. But man, this is not the best first episode as far as deaths go. But I'm just trying to be real with you. It's just the way I play. Not to mention, I go this whole episode and do all this building with nothing but iron tools, even stone in a lot of cases, for the record. But yeah, figured kind of get some details going on some of these buildings. Like I said, we need some windows and some doors and just some general trims. And with this many buildings, it's a fairly sizable project. But at least I had lots of different block types to work with at this point, and I think it's going to be really fun just watching this all come together. This one seriously came out of nowhere, and like the middle of the day, I had no idea where that guy came from. But I figured I'd show it. But this was no harm, no foul. I'm already not worried about levels at this point. I just kept on placing. But I did decide to check what day I was on because I knew I had been going for a while. I had gone 80 days at this point, and I didn't realize that. That's when I decided it was going to be a 100 days episode. I was almost feeling like finishing it at this point, but I figured I'd gone this far. Might as well just keep on going. Kind of like Forrest Gump when he was running across the country. He just felt like running. And it's always fun just seeing the Minecraft building process unfold. It's amazing how much of a difference just getting doors and windows just even laid out and just the trims on the side, how big of a difference that makes, let alone the finer details. But it's starting to look like a little city down there at this point. I know it might be a little dark for you, but it does look cool at night. Then I put a roof on some of the buildings that didn't have the dirt on top. Then I was ready to do a little landscaping, and I know I said next episode we're going to be more focused on some of these finer details, but like I said, I kind of found myself wanting to just expand 20 more days, so might as well just get started because I am looking forward to really bringing this area to life. We'll chip away at this waterfall, we'll have it looking really cool eventually. But the bottleneck I was running into is I wanted a bunch of bone meal, and I just wasn't having enough bones. I'd stayed up through a couple nights hunting skeletons, and without looting, I was lucky to get 7 or 8 bones in a whole night of hunting skeletons, so that was getting kind of annoying, but I did do it a few times. Planted a few jungle trees. Some I planted high on dirt that I'll bring the trunk down once the tree grows. But I was really wanting to spread some moss around, and I was going to go to this cave nearby, but then I got sidetracked making sure I multiplied my wheat because I would like to get this field nice and full, but I had found this cave right nearby that I saw that I had some moss in, so thought I'd make a trip down there, and this turned out just like last season. I'm hoping I don't let this derail my season. I want to stay completely up in the jungle, but this is right under everything I got. We've got this humongous cave here. This is almost bigger than the cave I found last season. I think it is bigger. Might not go quite as deep, but this is a crazy cave with really cool like lighting coming from the natural world. A lot of holes in the ceiling. And I know it's really dark. You can't see it very well. I'm thinking next episode I'll get it lit up so you can see it a little better, but I think you can kind of get an idea for just how big it is. And there's a whole nother section hiding down this way. But for now, I didn't want to spend too much time exploring. I lit up just so it was safe for me to gather a little moss. But man, you could really see this cave has some potential. I won't be doing anything down here besides maybe getting it lit up for a little while. I definitely want to stay focused up in the jungle. But like I said, this is right underneath everything that I'm going to be building. So I have a feeling we'll be down here eventually. I love building in caves, as you all know. It'd be cool to have a cave system closer to my spawn area. But I spent another night hunting skeletons. Again, probably only 7 or 8 bones. Kind of annoying. But I did have enough to just get started spreading some foliage up here and bringing some greenery around. So I just jumped into doing that. And things just really start looking better once you start spreading some bone meal, especially spreading the moss around, getting the different colored greens, and bringing the jungle trees back, really add to the vibe of the area, especially when I do some custom jungle trees at some point. But for now, we'll just go with the vanilla ones. But yeah, then I started the big project of hydrating the rest of my fields. As always, I like to put slabs on the edges so that it's easy to traverse. Again, spending nighttime trying to get some bones. It was a pretty big project getting these fields all hydrated. You can see days of work. Getting a few bones, being able to decorate our streams a little bit. And then I got planting my little bit of seeds I had. I'm going to really need to do some multiplying to make these work, but we're going to end up with a decent-sized pumpkin field here, and our wheat field's coming along. I will be filling it in once I have enough seeds, but yeah, just getting the greenery added in our little streams here. I'm just really liking how everything's coming together here, but I figure I got about 9 days left that I want to build, and I don't want to go a full 100 days without really having a comfortable place to stay, so I thought I'd put a little work into my hidey hole here. And like I said earlier, I really want to focus on having a bunch of the copper golems running around. Just have different little areas where they're sorting different materials, and this one's just going to be kind of a bulk area. So I just want to kind of set this room up as a nice, efficient copper golem sorting area. I think this looks pretty cool here. I like the jungle wood and the deep slate combo actually, but yeah, now I need to get all these chests organized. I'll go through how I have my area set up for the copper golems here in just a second, but first off I need to get all these chests emptied and organized so they have places to drop things off, and that was a pretty big project I'll save you from. But I missed the clip of me getting the golems made, unfortunately, but there they are. We got a nice little setup here. They look in 10 chests. So the 9th is a food chest. The 10th, the furthest away chest, is going into a hopper that goes into a barrel. So it'll always stay empty. And that chest is too high. They won't even look at that. So if I put something in here, which I'll put the stone cutter in here first, which they don't have a spot for. So they're going to look through all these chests first. And you can see how I got them organized. Blocks, leaves, drops, raw wood, just crafted materials, stone materials, dirt, sand, gravel, clay. And they'll go through all those looking around. And one of them has a pumpkin seeds here, which has a spot in the food chest here, so he'll drop that off in there. Works like a charm. And then this last guy is unable to find a spot for his stone cutter here, so he's gonna put it in this chest at the end, which if you didn't have this chest here, they would just be stuck with something in their hand not knowing what to do with it. So it's real important to have this chest, and as long as you have it be the last one they visit, it seems to work out really good. Even if they kind of get off, sometimes they'll search things in different order, they always end up going back to that same order. So, and then you empty the barrel and find a spot for those items as you go, and before too long everything has a spot. But I also needed a place that was just comfortable to sleep and just a general little room to stay in. So put a little work in the next door house here, which ends up just being my little living area. And let's just see how much work I can get done in these last 4 days here. And this is just the next step of details, but even just getting paintings in and a few little random things just does look a lot better. And I saw B-Dubs do something similar to this as a carpet using the leaves, the dry leaves. I thought it looked really cool. I'm going to start trying to find areas to do things like that, and the flowers for that matter. But yeah, a couple more days left. Just kept plugging away. Got this staircase worked out a little bit. And I wanted to get a little bit of work done on the front of the building. Needed to get a whole bunch of spruce, so it took a little time to get some of that chopped up. And using my shelves for the first time. It's going to be fun trying to find spots to use those. Went ahead and used them on this door as well, and they do just look really good. Great addition to the game. And I put a little overhang roof on. Again, just getting a rough layout of the details. They'll get better and better as we go, but you can only do so much at a time. even just getting the patios in does look a lot better. And then I was finishing things off by just covering up some of my building up top with dirt. Then I started getting attacked by the skeleton here. And I ended up in a little predicament because I didn't have any food on me. So this could be real bad. Let alone that he came over here and my weapon broke. Down to half a heart on what's supposed to be my last day, and then I fall in the waterfall and almost get drawn by the current into that zombie. Then I'm running back to base. But I do make safety. But you can see, I'm just in a copper helmet and copper pants left over from a zombie. Pretty sad state of affairs for being on day 100. I have not focused on diamond armor or enchantments or anything, mainly just because I've died so much. And worst off, you can see how bad my food situation here is. I don't have any on me, and this is my food chest. Essentially nothing, so I'm going to need to start next episode with a nice little farming session just to feel better about that. But I've really liked how I got about this episode, actually, just focusing on building. And I think we really got a cool thing set up here. I'm looking forward to bringing the details in, but just having this layout so you guys can really picture what I'm planning. And like I said, just expanding this all throughout my little jungle area. Now, my jungle is split up into like 3 different big areas, so this is just going to be the theme for this part of the jungle. And I can do something different in a couple other parts if I want. But yeah, we're just imagine all this getting filled in with colorful buildings. Going to decorate the mountains as well. They're going to look cool. I think I'm going to put some snow peaks on them eventually, but getting all this color in here. And once I bring in the texture, there will be some brighter pop, so it's not so desaturated of the terracotta. But yeah, I really appreciate those of you who've made it through to this point. I know it's been a little while between videos. I just need a little break, get a little rejuvenated before the new season, but I am definitely inspired to be back and get building over here in the jungle. So if you like what I got going on here and want to follow along, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to give the channel a little jump here. I'm really going to push to make an effort to get it going again. So yeah, as always, appreciate you all for coming and have a good day. Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Lynn, and welcome to episode 2 of season 3 of my Minecraft survival world here. And if you watched episode 1, you might remember I ended off in a pretty dire straits when it came to food and armor. So I did go ahead and harvest my wheat field here and got some bread. Still not looking too great in the food department. And I do have enough iron on me to go ahead and make a set of iron here, because today's going to be a little different. I was planning on just doing another big episode with a whole bunch of building progress, getting some details done. So I did kind of lie last episode when I said that's what I'd be doing. But actually what I'm going to do is work on lighting up that giant cave I found and just doing some cave exploration. And I got to be thinking that every time I've edited that, it's just always kind of tough. So I thought it'd be fun to just make it its own episode rather than trying to squeeze it into a 1-minute section of another episode. Because I have a feeling this cave is going to end up being a very major part of my world. So I kind of want to document my first time exploring through it, because as you can see, we've got a humongous cave here. I kind of dropped into some craziness right away, so I didn't get a chance to really take it in at first glance, but you'll be getting plenty of views here. But yeah, my plan was just try to get this all lit up as well as I can, and my strategy is always just to keep on moving and placing torches. And I did a lot of torch placing. Got this really cool moss area over here as well. It's just a really cool cave system, and a whole nother area down there that will get lightened up here in a second. You can see I gathered quite a crowd at this point, so that's why I just keep on moving. Now with getting the perimeter lit up at least a little bit, I'm thinking you can kind of get a better idea for the scale of this thing. I know YouTube just makes caves really dark and hard to see sometimes, so that's really why I want to get this lit up, is just so you all kind of realize what I'm working with here. It's going to be hard to not want to come down here and build and stay focused up on the jungle, but I'm going to stay focused up there for quite a while. But it does feel good to get this all lit up. Of course, fighting some mobs here and there. And after running around down here and racking my brain for ideas, and I do have a few ideas, but I think the thing I'm leaning towards is just have it be a really cool underground tree chopping area. I do have one over by my elven cave there, but this would just be so much bigger, and it's just already pretty well prepared to be that. It wouldn't take that much work to really make it look really cool. But for now, I'm still just worried about lighting up the area, and we have this whole area down here as well, which is connected and making the cave even crazier. Gotta find a safe way down. And then it was just a matter of lighting up again. And this area isn't quite as big as the area up top, but it's just pretty cool with the moss roof, and just the way it's laid out is pretty cool. And I got distracted seeing that it keeps on going down here, but then I ended up in a predicament. Trying to find a hidey hole and block myself in. I did not think I was going to make that. I felt really lucky to get away with that one. Well, hang out a second and let my health regenerate. And fight the mobs the easy way. Then I took a peek down and realized definite prime location for an ancient city. I don't see one at this point, but I can tell. I imagine there's one down there. And I actually got a wild hair and decided I was going to explore that. But before I did that, I wanted to just head back to the base for a second and spend a little time getting organized. For one thing, I needed some wood. I didn't want to get stuck down there without wood, as well as coal. Those are two things you really got to make sure you're well stocked with when you go down into the cave. So before I went back down, I ended up mining some easily accessible coal and iron. Might as well while I'm at it. Spent a little more time lighting up the lower section here, and it's definitely a cool area. But I was pretty curious at this point to see what I could find down this direction. And before I went down and looking for an ancient city, I got distracted by a mine shaft right here. And for the same reason, exploring these before you're all geared up makes it a little more worth it. So I thought I'd go ahead and explore this mine shaft for a little bit. Going through and lighting up all the spider spawners. Really hoping I can find a skeleton spawner down here. I definitely want to find a skeleton spawner close to my base somehow, and the mine shaft is the best place to try to look for them. I did decide I better go ahead and go to sleep and set my spawn, just in case the worst happens. And then I just started exploring, putting my torch on the right so it makes it easy to navigate, having to fight some mobs here and there. But yeah, keeping torches on the right in a maze of a mine shaft like this especially, it just makes it really easy to find your way back when you need to. Just when you're trying to go back, have the torches on your left and you'll eventually find your way back. But I'm just going to let this play out for a minute. Let you see what I do or don't find. As always, lots of spider spawners, so it's nice to be able to come get string at some point and cobwebs, but other than that, it wasn't a very fruitful mine shaft. But I did spend a little time going through the lit up halls and mining a little bit. But then I ended up going down this little crevice here and seeing that, as I figured, we do have an ancient city below us here. And it's always scary doing this. And I was well aware I was doing it with 28 levels. Sometimes you gotta just risk it for the biscuit. So I put in a little waterfall. And I decided to just jump right in. Now, again, these are hard to make episodes of, especially exploring ancient cities in the deep dark, just because everything's so dark. So I'm going to cut through this a little bit, but I took some time up here at the top of my waterfall. This actually works out pretty good, just looking around and scoping the land. We definitely have a big ancient city down here, and I see a couple chests that are somewhat accessible. And I do like to just kind of work along a wall and always have an escape route plan. That's always my plan. And I saw I had this chest nearby, and I don't worry about summoning the warden. I figure it's going to happen lots of times. I just kind of creep up towards the chest, and I try to hit and run as quick as I can. Here I'm just planning my route out to these chests and end up spawning them for the first time. And on my way up, I fall down. This could have been really bad. I was really scared, but I ended up going back up, figuring that I could just come up to this upper level and wait them out. But I wasn't very well prepared as far as my escape route here, and ended up really having trouble getting up here. So this was somewhat of a stressful trip back, but for the most part it works pretty good. Just once you spawn the warden, just run up here and wait them out. Then I made my way back down, and now that I had the bridge put in, that's a lot less noise I need to make. Sneak as far as I can until I summon them, and then I gotta move fast. I know I left a few things here. I did end up coming back and getting them. Definitely trying not to press my luck too much here. Then I ended up finding another area up top that was a decent area to drop in, so thought I'd go ahead and do that. Also, just to have another escape route when I'm down there. It's probably better to have a few directions I can run. And again, I'm just do a little scouting from the top, and see, I got a couple accessible chests here. And this one right below where I dropped onto, essentially, was a pretty good chest. It had the silence armor trim, which I wasn't even thinking of when I came down here, but that's a really good find. I know that's pretty rare, and a good set of diamond leggings, so that was a good chest there. Then I was making my way back up to my little base of operations up here, and I didn't realize there was even a shrieker up in this area, and I spawned the warden essentially right next to me. This was bad. I got running back here not even knowing what was back here actually, but I just had to get away. I didn't want to run towards them. I'm down here and I'm coming to a dead end. I don't want to fall. I'm trying. And he got me. Somehow I survived. I have nowhere to go. If I jump, I'm gone. If he hits me one more time, I'm gone. But for some reason, after shooting me, he went back on the ground. I was super surprised. I don't know why he did that. That should have been it right there. Right on the edge. That was a very close call. So we've had a few close calls in this caving session. And I did go and find the shriekers that set him off up there, because I don't want shriekers up on my top safe escape level. So this took a couple times of getting the shrieker away and running. But it all worked out. Then I made my way back down, and I was actually having pretty good luck with these chests over here as far as not as many shriekers, so I was able to get into a few chests before I ended up spawning the warden this time. My second Swift Sneak 1 book, so I will have Swift Sneak 2 at this point, so that's good. Bunch of coals, never bad. The shriekers did hear me on this one, so I had to really rush to get all these books, but I did want the books because I'm trying to set up an enchantment table, but I fell in the little crevice here, and this really scared me. I had to pillar out. This could have been really bad too. Mainly because I was all disoriented and just didn't have my sense of direction, so I was kind of running around blind at this point. Then I saw my waterfall as a savior. And this is when I decided I better not push my luck anymore. I've already doing pretty good at this point as far as loot. Got a lot of what I came down here for, so thought I'd make my way back up and just get organized. And when I got up here, there were a whole bunch of slimes, and I was fighting them off pretty good, but I wasn't paying attention to where I was, and this guy knocked me down. Another super close call. Luckily, you can't fit down here, so I was able to wait him out. Definitely going to take note of the fact that it's a nice big slime chunk here, and I've never built a little slime farm of any kind, so if there was a place to do it, this will be a good one to remember in the future. But yeah, at this point, I decided I better stop pressing my luck. Like I said, I was pretty happy with my loot run here. Got a few enchanted books. Like I said, I'll end up with Swift Sneak 2, and Power 3 is a good one, and Protection 2 isn't bad to have. Good amount of books for my enchanting setup, some random minerals, a couple really good sets of diamond leggings. Like I said, that was one of the main things you're looking for when you're down in a ancient city. It's always nice to come up with something there. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about our loot here. And this little area here connected to everything else we've already explored isn't too bad to have either. But yeah, up here I'm just really excited for this cave. Like I said, this lower section isn't quite as big as the upper section, but it's got the mossy ceiling, and it's definitely big enough to be able to do something cool with. Nice tall ceilings, that's always something you're looking for in a cool cave. But yeah, up here's really where the good stuff is. And I think I do have my heart set at this point on having this be a nice detailed and decorated. There will be buildings and stuff too, but have the main function of this area to be a cool tree chopping area. And that'll actually make it probably more likely that I move down here sooner than later, because I'm going to need to have a tree chopping area anyway. So, and I also don't want to put all the other trees up in my jungle, so having it underground actually works out perfect. So yeah, definitely a different episode here. Like I said, I just really wanted to show my first exploration of this cave, because I do figure it's going to be a pretty major part of my world, and to try to cut it up and squeeze it in an episode with a bunch of other stuff, it was just going to be kind of hard. So let me know what you think. I might start doing more things like this, just some little one-off, little less game time in the episode, and just really show the adventure in the process. But yeah, let me know what you think here, and as always, appreciate any likes and let alone subs if you liked what you saw here, and I always appreciate you all for coming, and have a good day. Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Lynn, and welcome to episode 3 of season 3 of my Minecraft survival world here, and we're back in my jungle base here, and I'm just really excited about this area. As I'm kind of settling in and hanging out, coming up with different ideas for some things I want to do, I'm just real excited to get going on this area here. So today we're just going to chip away at leveling things up a little bit, kind of get a theme established. I think I've kind of got a plan. And I also want to get a mob farm put in today, just mainly because I'm getting sick of trying to get bone meal. It's kind of been a bottleneck so far, and I want to really use some bone meal and spread some greenery around. We're actually going to start things off by just using the bone meal I got. And as I've said many times, I just really like just spreading moss around, mainly just because it makes it look like you got your fingerprints on your area a little bit more. And I just like the mix of the different greens, especially here in the jungle with the color of the grass in the jungle. It's a good combo. And getting the azalea trees mixed in, and I'm trying to be strategic, finding good spots that aren't going to block the views of my good areas for good views. But it really is making a difference just filling this area in a little bit. Then I got going through kind of assembly line style, which is going to be what I end up doing for a lot of these buildings. Here, for example, I'm just going through for all the buildings and just putting a simple little porch in. But when you got this many buildings, it's quite a big job. But it's going to be fun just slowly but surely chipping away at these things and getting little details added at a time. And by the end, I plan on it being a fairly detailed area. I wanted to get some flower pots put in. I was not really knowing what I wanted to do with this little awkward spot. I almost was going to extend the road over there, but I decided to put this weird shaped flower pot. And I'm having fun using the shelves here. think we're all in agreement they're a really good building block addition to the game here. Yeah, we'll come back through and plant all the flowers because I was in planter box building mode, so I went through all the buildings and gave them something. Having to strip the wood as I went to make the shelves, but I just think they look really good. And I did pick a few spots and use leaves just to change things up a little bit, and I like how this looks as well. Finally went around and planted a bunch of flowers. Again, wishing I had a little more bone meal for some more taller flowers. I like filling the spots with the leaves with the tall flowers. But just getting this little bit more color mixed in just looks really good. And slowly but surely the buildings are starting to look a little more established. Then I got sidetracked wanting to kind of work on a couple of these rock walls, or just where the path meets the wall. Needed a little bit of terraforming, and yeah, put a little work in here, but I think it was worth it. I think it looks really good, and we'll come and greenify the area at some point. But then I got even more sidetracked and wanted to get going on this wall down here. I think we got it looking pretty decent as well. Then I figured I'd gone this far, went ahead and got going on a path down here for this level, and we'll put some buildings along here at some point, but even just getting this path put in, pretty big project here. I like the way this wraps around and drops down here, and yeah, like I said, we'll pick a few spots for some buildings and a few spots for some greenery, trying to have a good mix. Getting the path put in just really helps me visualize things and be able to pick out where I want to put things. But then I went ahead and just kept on going and thought I'd meet the path up with the rest of the path network and work my way up this hill on the backside. I had to put a couple staircases in. Good amount of terraforming to make all this work. But it is going to be cool having everything all linked up. And like I mentioned last episode, I'm really happy I'm going with the 5 wide path, even though it is a little bit more work, but it definitely just well worth it. I think it just looks a lot better than going with the 3 wide path like I was doing for so many years. And it feels good to be getting this established. One of those fun Minecraft projects where you just kind of get going on one thing and it leads into another. I was not planning on getting all this laid out, but yeah, you can see the path come down here, and this will extend down this direction. And then this whole path, which will have, I'm thinking, buildings over in this area, and then probably some greenery over in the left side here a little bit. But come up here, little staircase. Just liking the way it's all connected, and this is all set up to extend out this direction. We're going to fill this whole jungle eventually. That's my plan. It's cool to have it link up here and getting the flowers added, and just slowly but surely it's coming to life up here. I think it's looking really cool. But yeah, we have this path that connects over here as well, which there was kind of a little natural cavern here that has been wanting me to get this path, so I did a little terraforming to make this work and have it come out the back side of the mountain here. And there's a really cool area down here as well. You got a couple mountains over there, plus when you're down there you're looking at the jungle mountains up here, so definitely a cool area down there. But yeah, you might notice I'm at level 31. After all those deaths in episode 1, it was a long time coming to get to this point, but yeah, I figured I better get going on working towards getting some things enchanted here, and this sent me in a few different directions. Starting with that, I wanted to go down and try to find a few more diamonds. But then once I found them, I figured I better just wait until I have a fortune pickaxe, since I have enough diamonds to make a few tools anyway. But while I was down here, get a bunch of tuff and just getting some more materials. And I didn't have much luck with diamonds other than these 2. But like I said, I'll come back down when I actually have a fortune pickaxe. But I did come across this little lava pocket and went ahead and got a bunch of obsidian, because not only was I going to need it to make an enchanting table, but I want to go to the nether at some point. But To make an enchanting table, I needed a bunch of sugar cane, which I have not been doing a very good job of keeping up on. Not a good job at all, actually, so I went around the old-fashioned style and just got a bunch along the ocean down here. And it was fun going along the boat. We definitely have some cool views, lots of really cool mountains along this ocean here. Another set of mountains over here. Cool flower forests. Just really cool mountains along this ocean. And it is fun not having the elytra a little bit. I'm going to probably go this whole 500 days without it. Did find this village as well. A good place to sleep. I'll go ahead and save you me going through and raiding the village. I didn't find much interesting. And take a peek over the hill, more ocean, get a few plants along the way. But mainly sugarcane was my mission. I did use some bone meal for the last few just because it was kind of far and few between to find on that trip there. And I decided I was going to go ahead and turn this building here into my little enchanting room. And that's going to be fun, just taking all these little buildings and just giving them all their own individual little purpose. And that's kind of my plan for this area. So here's example number 1, turning this into my little enchanting building. And let's get our first tools enchanted. And I went through all of them and I just wasn't getting much good options. I want to get fortune on a pickaxe, looting 3 on a sword would be good. Silk touch on a pickaxe would be good. But I ended up going with a book because I wasn't getting anything I wanted. Then I got organized, got 1 chest of enchanted stuff, 1 chest of stuff to enchant. Then I was going to just try to kill some mobs to get back up to level 30, but that was taking way too long. So I went down into my cave from last episode. I knew I had this big cavern with just a bunch of available skulk without Shrieker, so it was going to be easy access to just get a bunch of skulk, and it's actually a really good way to get levels. But once again, I wasn't having much luck with my enchants, and so I took a looting 3 on a book, but it sucks because it gave me knockback, which I hate to have on my sword. So I don't even know if I'm going to use that book on a sword. And I kept going and just wasn't getting much luck. I was having horrible enchanting luck, so I'm using level 1 enchants just to unlock the next thing, and I just went back down and get back up to level 34 so I could have a few chances to enchant up there. I did find a few diamonds. This actually might be a decent way to find diamonds, just because you're exposing a bunch of stone that wasn't exposed to air. Once again, horrible luck, but I did get protection 4 on a book. And then I'm just enchanting a few shovels, again, mainly just to get to the next enchant. You can see how many I've gone through without getting anything I want necessarily. But I did find a few more diamonds. Had to waste more enchants on a shovel. Got a decent shovel on that one though. Just searching, and then finally I get Fortune 2 on a pickaxe, which I usually pass on Fortune 2, but it's taken so long to get to this point. I just wanted to have Fortune on something so I could at least go down and get a few more diamonds and not feel so bad about mining diamonds and stuff at this point. Fortune 2 is a lot better than nothing, that's for sure. For example, right here, we got 4 on those 2. Then I went and finished making my set of armor and tools, so I've got all the stuff made. Now I just need to work on getting it all enchanted, and I'm not going to really use it or wear it until I've got a full set of everything, but yeah. I had mentioned I wanted to build a mob farm, and I was thinking this building would be a good one to hide it in because it's got plenty of space if I dig things out to really get some room for some spawning platforms. And this ended up being a fairly big project, and I've really enjoyed making some mob farms. I didn't make a mob farm in all my Minecraft career until just a few months ago at this point, but I am really having fun just sneaking a mob farm in around my area. It doesn't have to be the most efficient mob farm you've ever seen, but just to have something producing in the background, and definitely works out nice. We got a few good sized platforms dug out here, and I got the middle of them dug out that we'll put trapdoors in and have them fall down here to where I'll have a water system bringing them this direction. And then this is going to be the room that I have them drop in and pick up my items. So here's where I'll plan on them dropping. But to make that work, I was going to need some soul sand, so that means I'm going to need to go to the nether. And I decided this building would be a good place to hide my nether portal just because there's a perfect space for it back here. And this is kind of a gray area between my seasons here, and that the nether is essentially the same area as my spawn area nether, just because of the way it works. I'm not that far from spawn, so I'm just gonna treat the nether no different than I had before. But luckily I spawned in some soul sand right below me. We just took that for now, but we'll be hopping back in the nether a little later. I am going to need to relink my portals, because it spawned me over here where I had my original portal over here in the jungle. Spawns just out that direction there. It's funny, we're so close yet so far. Go ahead and take this portal out and I'll relink my portals here in a little bit. But yeah, went out to the ocean as well. Had to get some kelp so I can make my water vader here, and I just got back to work. Getting my little kill chamber set up here, and I got the water vader all set up. Then I'll bring them up here and drop them right down into the kill chamber, where we'll have some soul fires going on and some hoppers underneath. And yeah, from the platforms, they'll fall into this little water system that'll push them down this direction, into this little water system that'll push them to the water vader. I do end up needing to come and fix a few things later. But yeah, put all trapdoors just on these sections up here, and that fakes the mobs out and they just fall on through. Again, it's not the most efficient mob farm you've ever seen, especially just being right in my base. It's not like I go an AFK or anything, but it's just so that when I'm at the right distance, it'll slowly but surely be producing some bones and gunpowder for when I get elytra. I did have to replace my paths up here with blocks because they were letting light through, same for the roofs, but that's alright. And I had found a few amethyst shards in our ancient city exploration last episode, so I had a few pieces of tinted glass to replace the windows. I'd like to replace them all with tinted glass over time, but yeah, we blocked all the doors and windows, making sure we had no light coming in. Then I went around and lit up the general surrounding area a little bit. I need to do that a lot more, but yeah, you can see these top levels are smaller platforms, so they're not the most efficient, but they just add to it. And you can see once we block it off, it's definitely pitch black in here. For this sake right now, we'll light things up so you can see a little bit. Got a few larger platforms here, and yeah, they'll just spawn and they get faked out by the trapdoors. So they'll just fall on through and make their way down to my little water system down here. Drops them into here. Takes them to the water vader, then drops them into the kill chamber. I got this tinted glass in here so you can see in there. I know you can't see it on YouTube, but it's fun to be able to see. And yeah, for just getting it up, it is slowly but surely going to be producing some materials there. So really happy to have this done. Now that this little group of buildings kind of has its purpose, I figured might as well really add some details and get it looking good. Starting with getting some texture added as always, which pretty big tedious process a lot of the time, but always well worth it in the end, I think. Trying to go kind of crazy with the colors here, just being somewhat different. I end up changing the white terracotta to stone later, even though I thought it has its place, but I like the stone better. But yeah, just getting the texture added, always a good start. And my plan for these buildings is to have them be abandoned buildings, because we got the mob farm inside, so we won't be building an interior or anything. So I thought the abandoned building idea would be kind of fun. So I'm just trying to be a little messier than usual, even though I end up just doing the same windows and doors like I tend to do. But the main thing is getting the boarded up windows, which I think just looks really good, and just trying to have a few things just be uneven, like when I'm going through the roof line here, dropping a few rather than having it just be a nice straight line. Putting little gaps in the fences as I bring it down the side here, just to have everything not be so perfect, as well as adding a whole bunch of leaves as usual. Maybe even a little more than usual since it's an abandoned building, but I actually come back and take a few away. Gotta find a happy medium, but I do think this is looking really cool. I think the boards across the windows just do a lot to really portray what I'm going for here. Definitely gives the abandoned buildings vibe, but I'm not done yet. I will be coming back because I got inspired. But yeah, in just my little time there, you can see we got a decent amount of stuff being produced here. After all those nights having to go around hunting skeletons, that's going to end up making more than enough bone meal, I think, to get me through until I'm really stocked up and find a skeleton spawner at some point. But yeah, like I said, I'll be back. Am inspired. I've got plans for the kind of a theme I want to get going up there, but I figured I needed to do a few chores. Doing a big farming session being one of the main ones. I really haven't farmed my whole field here since I got it planted. And I am going to go ahead and combine my pumpkins and melons into one field. Because we got a pretty big field over here, and that gives me a chance to have the big carrot field, and I didn't have a field for beetroot, so I got a beetroot field going. Bred my animals as well. I was up at level 30, so I did one more enchant. Got protection on my chest plate, nothing else. Went down and got a little glow lichen because I figured that would look good on my abandoned base and give it a little bit of light. And I hopped in the nether again, and like I mentioned earlier, we're so close to my spawn area. This is all the same nether I've explored, so I'm not overly concerned the fact that I've been through all this and using some of my old stuff. I don't plan on spending much time in the nether anyway. For now, I just wanted to jump down real quick and get a few shroom lights. I wanted to use them for lamp posts because before I get back to work on the building here, I wanted to do a little work on the path, and my plan is to have it be a lot of oak in the path. I just think it looks good, and I'm imagining that the whole path was oak at one point and the middle has gotten kind of trampled, so I'm trying to have more oak on the outside and more dirt and path block in the middle. And I went around and got a few lamps in, which is always a great addition to your area. It always steps things up. And these are just starter lamps. As I build with my theme, things could change. And adjusting the road is something I keep on doing until I'm happy with it. But I also wanted to go around and add a little greenery in a few spots, and we're up to 35 bones, which is pretty good for this point, I would say. So I put a lot of that to use. Like I said earlier, I traded this white terracotta out for andesite just because I thought it looked a little better for the gradient. There's definitely a spot for the white terracotta with this mix, but not for what I'm doing here. Then I went and put my glow lichen around, light things up a little bit, and it just looks good with the abandoned buildings, as well as using some of the glow berries. I think helps with the overgrown look. But the thing that really starts bringing things together is I decided to put in these little marquees with the glazed terracotta. And this is kind of when I established an idea for my theme of the area. And I even came up with a word for it, and we're calling it jungle punk. Kind of a cyberpunk theme, get the fluorescent lights going on and all that, but still have a bunch of greenery and overgrownness and even the dirt road, I feel like. But man, I'm liking the little pop of color with these lights. Then I finished off by just doing a few little random things, like I said, chipping away at the road until I like it. I really didn't like it at first, but I got it to a point I was fairly happy with it. And going around and just planting a whole bunch of flowers, again, just bringing some color to the area. And then I got adding these little towers at the top, figuring I got my little theme established, and I thought this would do a lot to add to it. I feel like towers like this are a big part of a cyberpunk build. But we're doing our own thing with it, but I think these look really cool. Just getting a little extra height. I think the little redstone light at top looks cool, especially at nighttime, but I think those actually work out for little towers on the top of the buildings, and we'll put things like little fans and all that in the walls. But yeah, I'm really liking the pop of color. I'm trying to have each building kind of have its own little color scheme. As you can see, the marquees matched up with whatever markings would be on the walls and all that. And I'm just super excited for the idea of this theme here and expanding on it throughout. Like I said, this is the abandoned building, so the other ones will be a little cleaner and nicer, but man, just getting the pop of color, I think, really brought things together here. I'm just super excited. Like I said, I got the road looking a little better, and once I bring some mud over, it'll look better too. But yeah, I'm really happy with the progress we made today. Got this whole path network put in, which was a big job. That's very nice to have done and really lets me visualize what I want to do. And just getting all the greenery added. We got our library figured out. We'll get that detailed here sooner than later. But yeah, I think this is a good place to call it for this episode here. As always, I appreciate those of you who made it to this point in the video, and definitely appreciate any likes and subs. They really do help out, and I'm really looking forward to get started on the next episode here. So yeah, as always, I appreciate you all for coming, and have a good day. Hello, everybody. I'm Jalen, and we're back here in my jungle base, which I am just having so much fun with this base, if I'm being honest with you. Definitely been bitten by the Minecraft bug again. And we got our mob farm in here, as you can hear, in this awesome abandoned building, which I'm just real excited about the theme, and I'm excited to extend to the other side of the street here, and we're going to do a free roaming copper golem area over here, and I'm real excited to get going on that. You might notice things looking a little different. I'm in Vibrant Visuals. I tested them out the other day and felt like they were running pretty good, and I was liking how it looked, so I thought I'd give them a try for a little bit, see how I feel. But before I get going on the storage area over there, I just wanted to put a little work into all these buildings like I have been every now and then, going through assembly line style and just chipping away, mainly just getting floors and finish getting the walls up in the majority of these over here. Because I do plan on doing a free roaming villagers as well. We're going to have lots of life in this area eventually. And I'm real excited about my copper golem area over here, but these buildings needed a good amount of work to be ready for that. And I do plan on each building having its own theme, so this is going to be my wood building, so I end up swapping the materials out there a little bit. This is going to be my dirt variant building, so we're building it out of dirt. Obviously, everything's kind of ugly right now. We'll come back and finish things up. This is going to be my leaf and flower building, so we're going green with this one. And we'll bring some texture in, and I didn't realize how dark it was as I'm looking this over, but yeah, got that all set up. And then, again, just chipping away around the area, put a little more work into the road, going with the oak kind of on the outside of the road, and then have the middle act like it's worn, more of a path with the dirt and the path blocks. And I think it's looking really good. And I also want to just give a shout to Vibrant Visuals. I think they've got them running a lot better. Definitely better than last time I looked in there, but I think that was a particularly bad time. But yeah, it's running really good over here and just looks really cool, and I'm happy getting these buildings just organized, floors in. Before we know it, we're going to be ready to build. And yeah, I'm just really excited about the concept over here. Have just golems through each building, but I didn't want to start with a resource gathering session, but I don't want to leave you out either, so we're going to go back in time a little bit and show you what I did between episodes. First off, slowly enchanting. I was at level 30, so I got some feather falling boots, which wasn't too bad, and I spent a good amount of time gathering some resources, making a trip out to the Mesa and getting some cactus so I can have some green dye. Then I kept going all the way out to our mangrove area, which you'll be familiar with if you've been following my series. If you want to see me originally finding this, I think it'll probably be the 4th or 5th video I ever made. And yeah, I will say the Vibrant Visuals didn't like this area quite as much, but we got through it. Nice to have some mud and just the mangrove trees. And I also got some of the dripstone so I can make a lava generator at some point. And I want to use these blocks for building a little more. I think they're underused. But yeah, now we're back in real time. And I was ready to get a free roaming copper golem system going on. Like I said, each building's going to have its own theme, so this is going to be my building for just my blocks and slabs and stairs and just random materials. So I thought I had a pretty good plan, and I just got going here, knowing that the golems search chests in order from closest to furthest. So in theory, I make this chest here, whenever they open it up, they'll go through the chest in order from closest to furthest. So for testing, I'm going to put a block in every chest, and the object is to have the last chest they visit be a chest going into a hopper, so it'll stay empty, so they'll always have a place to get rid of a block that they're holding if they didn't find a place to put it on the way. Now here's a small example of a whole bunch of the tinkering I had to do, that they were able to walk on that chest and it was throwing off the first chest they visit. But yeah, you can see they're going from closest to furthest, and so far so good. You can imagine when I have these organized, it'll make more sense. We'll go through things at the end. But yeah, if you have this last chest going into a hopper, they'll drop things off rather than get stuck with an item in their hand. So I moved over to this building, which is going to be my stone variants. And this is where a problem started to arise. Is once I was testing this guy out, I realized that he was attracted to chests on the other side of the wall, and these guys were brought from over there, so this is when things really started to turn. And I had to do just a whole bunch of tinkering, figuring the chests out so that they wouldn't be attracted to ones on the other side, and this is when I decided I just wasn't even going to try to record that and make any sense of it, and I'm just going to show you everything at the end here. And we definitely got it looking cool. You can see the life of these guys just walking around here, and we did a lot of organizing. You can see we went 6 Minecraft days since you last saw me. But yeah, we'll just put a piece of bread in here since there isn't a chest for bread. This is our block room. So we got this raw wood and blocks and slabs and stairs, doors and fences, random blocks in there, glass in here. So you can see, as long as if I put something in this chest, he's going to go through and in order, and the last chest he'll visit will go into a hopper, so he'll get rid of the piece of bread since he didn't find a spot for it, and then I just have to come and clean out those boxes every now and then. But for the most part, since I know where everything is, it's not going to happen very often. So this is my stone block room, and I did have to knock out some of the doors and widen some of the doors because they were getting stuck, but that's all right, and we'll figure that out when we build things. But yeah, you can see I got this one organized. Got it kind of organized backwards here, but just all the different stone types, stone and cobblestone and deep slate over here. So it'll be easy to just come and drop that off there. And again, you can see last one he'll visit, he'll drop off the bread. And I'm actually going to come back and switch the order of these chests because I do want the cobblestone and deep slate to be first since they're the most common. That'll speed things up a bit. Yeah, then we got our dirt variants in this room. 2 chests for dirt because I always end up with so much of that. And then I got sand and gravel, moss, mud, clay, and then just randoms. We'll fill this up over time. Obviously, I don't have a bunch of materials at this point, but yeah. Main thing is I got all the chests organized in a way where they're not pulling the golems off in the wrong direction, because they can be easily confused, and it might happen, but I've let them run around a little bit here and run a few runs, and they seem to be doing pretty good, and man, I'm just really liking the life. This is my greenery room, so you got leaves, and saplings, flowers, and just random decorative blocks. Now this room back here, I kind of overestimated how much I was going to need for leaves and stuff, so I'm just putting these as holding blocks for now. I don't know exactly what I'm going to use that room for yet, but yeah, this was a hard one, just the way the room was shaped, figuring out how to get this golem organized, but last chest he visits. And then, yeah, just a reminder, I still have this room over here, which was my original golem sorting area, and this one I can just dump everything in that box, and it'll have a spot in all these chests, so this is where I'll really be coming and dumping off my stuff, and then when these chests fill up, that's when I'll bring them over to those other rooms. But it is going to be nice, and just the life of the golems is just so much fun. I really like the copper golems. One of my favorite additions to the game in a very long time, if I'm being real with you. And yeah, I was ready to get building at this point, and I thought I would just get out of the way and show the process and a nice little montage of me starting to bring these buildings to life a little bit. And I really have fun with this. Going through assembly line style as usual. And I know I've been saying it, but man, I'm just really having fun with this base. It's definitely just different than anything I've done. And we're just getting this vibe going, like I kind of established last episode with this jungle punk vibe, I'm trying to call it. And obviously, when we get more neon capabilities, we'll make it cooler. But I think the glazed terracotta just gives this nice little colorful vibe. And man, I just got this looking so cool down here. I didn't mean for this to come out looking so much like a barn. I might need to change things up a little bit, but I don't hate it. And we just got some interiors going. Everything's simple, just getting some basic structure in and some paintings for a little color and a little carpet. But so much better than the blank buildings, and man, I just think this came out really cool. And even got these buildings a little detailed over here. And this building, eventually, I think I'm going to turn into being where I store, like, nether items and end items and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just having so much fun with this base, and that was a really good little building session, and I'm ready for another one, get working on some things up here. But before I do that, I was at level 31, so I did a enchantment, and we got Fortune 3. And a perfect pickaxe. Can't beat that. I wanted to jump right back into building, and I wanted to put a little work on top of the hill here. We got this magenta building, and I'm actually going to add another building. We're going to hide some sheep farms in there. I want to get the path network figured out a bit. Just start chipping away at the area up here. Well, I've let it get kind of overgrown, so I had to do a little bit of clearing things out before I got to work up here, laying out the path network. Going with a 3 wide. Actually, I turned it to a 2 wide eventually. Just up in this area. As I'm going up the mountain, have things be a little smaller, just kind of work with perspective, and we're going to be doing more of that. It does feel good to get this path put in, have a way to get up here and have it be an area. As well as getting this path put in that I've been wanting to do since I started building in the area up here. But like I said, we wanted to add another building here, and I started with this blue terracotta, but when I got down there and looked at it, it blended with the sky too much. For it being kind of my tallest building at the top of the hill, I want it to be something contrasting with the sky a little more, so I went with the yellow, which I did not regret. It ends up looking really good. And you can see I got a little bit of wool here. We'll be coming back with a lot more wool, brighten up the top, and have it be a nice bright building. And yeah, speaking of wool, we're going to turn these into wool farms, which you've seen me build these a few times at this point. Hopper into the back of the chest, hopper mine carts on the hoppers, sheep on top of the mine carts, observers looking at the dirt that I will turn into grass, which is a problem here since I don't have silk touch, so we're going to have it spread the old-fashioned way. So while I was waiting for it to do that, I started going around the edges and using stone just because it was getting a little too green. I want it to be nice and green, but I'm really glad I ended up doing this. Changing the edges with stone, it just cleaned things up, makes it a little less messy looking, and using the stairs and slabs to get a little interesting shape, and we'll come back and put some texture in with some cobble and andesite and all that. But yeah, just with all the green around here, I needed to find, I was going a little crazy with the moss, even though I'm still really liking the concept, but I gotta break it up a little bit, and I'm really glad I did. I think this just looks so much better, and I got it cleaned up the leaves a little bit, just made it a little cleaner looking. But yeah, I didn't want to break up the building process with this incident that happened a couple nights earlier when I started getting attacked by this zombie, and it just felt different. He has a spear. That's going to be dangerous with that far reach. It's definitely a different thing, and I'll be honest, I've been waiting for the update, but I didn't realize it was today, so it's update day. And I got my first spear ever. And yeah, that's cool. I get surprised with update day. I'm not super excited about this update. It doesn't seem like there's that much going on, but I am looking forward to a Nautilus at some point. But I put the spear in my valuables chest of firsts. But I was ready to get back building, mainly just working on this area up here, bringing these buildings up to par. You can see we got the grass all grown in the old-fashioned way. I don't have silk touch yet. I'm going on day 200 and I'm still not using any of my leveled up gear. I wait until I have it all at once before I start using it. But that might come back to bite me. We'll see. But for now, I was just placing some blocks, and I'm really happy with how these buildings came out. As well as Getting a little path network set up here. Just getting the basics in for now. We can come back later. I also got the sheep brought over. I'll kind of skip through this, but I will say these guys were pretty finicky trying to get their way up here. But I popped them in, and I'm making these ones the yellow and orange building and the purple and magenta building. I might just do random colors for a little bit until I have all my buildings put in, but in the long run, that's what the plan is for here. And I think the little pops of wool in the building end up just looking really good. But this night I got caught off guard. I had been staying up through the nights just chipping away at my levels, and I got ambushed here. Sometimes I play without my headphones on, it's bad, but worst part is I knew that edge was there. I was planning on using the tree, and I just ran off the edge and did it to myself. Super frustrating. I was at level 31. Horrible death there. But I'll save you from me dwelling on it. We did get a little tower put on top of the building here, which I'm really liking this being a theme to the area, getting these towers on. They just look so cool, and they're just easy and just a different detail that does make this area a lot more modern than I usually build. Obviously, with the theme I'm going for, but I just think these little pops of color and light, and like I said earlier, we'll get some frog lights and some end rods and all that, and really kind of cyberpunk / jungle punk the area out a bit. But for now, I'm really liking what we got going, and spent a whole bunch of time spreading some moss around, and I wanted to transform this mountain a little bit. So I did a level of dirt, and then I figured I'm gonna, over time, put snow peaks on all these mountains. So this is my first little test with it. And working with perspective, I put these little mini trees on just to try to make the mountain look bigger from not that far away. You'll see in a second, but I also chopped this really tall jungle tree down that had been bugging me, speaking of messing with perspective, as well as getting a few of the azalea trees and replacing them with jungle trees just to get a variation. And then I spent the last night finishing my path, making it easy to traverse. What better way to end things off than another death? I'm just not very good sometimes. You all know that by now, though, if you've been watching. But no, the real problem is that I keep taking my torches out that I had put in originally. I end up building on them and then not replacing them. But yeah, finished off just adding a few more rocks and adding a bunch of purple flowers to my little path up here. And I think this area looks so cool. I know I've said it a few times already, but something about this base just really has me inspired. And it goes to show you why this area caught my attention in the first place as to why I chose this seed. But I think these new buildings are just really cool. I really like the wool, like I said, giving that pop of brightness. I just think it looks really good. And we got nice functioning wool farms here and cool little path up here. We'll decorate up here a little more, but at least we got the path put in, wrap around behind here, get me down to my storage area. But yeah, just the vibe around here is just so cool. I just want to take another slow little stroll just around this little corner and through this little street right here. I just think it's so special. Now, there's lots of blocks. It's kind of block messy in some ways, and I realize that's going to bug some people, but I'm well aware of it, and this is kind of what I'm going for here. Almost kind of block vomity, some would say, but I think it just looks really cool, and it actually looks pretty good from up close. A little further away, sometimes it can get a little messy, but I think getting the stone put in here on top instead of all the green, it just breaks up all the green. And I want to show you, my mob farm's been working away like crazy. I've used a couple stacks of bones out of it. I've never had a mob farm right where I live, and I've spent a bunch of time, and it does more than enough, just this little mob farm, for what I'm going to need. Over time, that's really going to fill up. I'm looking forward to upgrading these. I might do them in a slight different style. I don't know for sure what I'm going to do yet, but I'm really liking the concept we got going on over here. These buildings can still use a little love, and we're going to turn this one into another copper golem sorter of crops and all that. But yeah, I figured we better take a view from our tree over here so you can mainly see the mountain in the background. I think it just looks so cool, getting the snow on top and the dirt layer and green going up rather than it just being a big stone. I think it just looks really good, and the miniature trees do a lot for the perspective. I don't know how well that's going to show up on YouTube for you, but it definitely does it. And I do plan on snow capping all these peaks over time. I think that's going to be a really cool project and really transform the area, but all those deaths made me not able to get Silk Touch and go get snow, so that's the problem with that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode today. I think we got some really cool stuff built, and I'm just really liking this area. And if you're liking what you're seeing and made it this far, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. I hope to see you again. As always, thank you all for coming, and have a good day. Hello, everybody. I'm Jalen, and today, after spending the last couple episodes just working on my buildings over there, I wanted to do a little work over on this side and extend out this direction a little bit, start cleaning this up and get an area for my animals down here with a nice little stream running through it. And yeah, I think it's going to be kind of fun, get away from the city a little bit, as well as just do some chores and stock up on some food for one thing. And try to just start filling up my chest that we got going in the last episode. So we started with a good little farming session here. This is the first time I've done this since I've had all the fields filled up, and going to be nice starting to have a collection of crops at this point. Unfortunately, my animals have been living underneath the crops up there, and I don't like that. I like them to be outside, so that's why I'm looking forward to today just extending out here a little bit. But you can see we've got a good amount of work to make this area buildable, so I'm just going to start by chopping some trees and give myself some room to work. And I don't mind a good tree chopping session to open up some land to work on. It's pretty satisfying to see the area open up a little bit. But I gotta start getting serious about getting my levels up and getting things enchanted, so I don't mind staying up through the night sometimes, but every now and then, a creeper's gonna sneak up on you and you got nowhere to go. I know I'm about the worst at this game, but I know I probably drive some of you crazy with my playstyle and the fact that I level up so slow, but I just don't mind extending the early game, because once you're out of it for good, so I don't mind taking my time. Let me die every now and then. But yeah, got a nice area opened up. Now we gotta clean this dirt up a little bit, which is something I used to not do very often, getting the dirt nice and organized. I would just do little patches here and there, but actually making projects of making your area look good, definitely worth it. And you get lots of dirt, so I know I'm gonna want it. Start planning out my little stream down here and just smooth things out from there. End up with a pretty good little shape. I thought this was looking cool, but I wanted to take a few layers out. I feel like it's a little bit busy, so I went back down and just flattened things out a little bit, pretty much going down 3 blocks. And it was a lot of work, but I think it looks really cool. Had to get the other side too. And you can see I spent 7 Minecraft days down here getting all this organized. And a lot of that I stayed up through the majority of the night. So kind of an idea of how big of a project that was. I'm excited to bring it to the next level here, but I wanted to take a little break from this area. And one thing I wanted to almost squeeze in last episode was doing some work on this barn. We're going to be turning this into another copper golem sorter for my crops and meats and stuff, I'm thinking. So I'm just going to get out of the way and let you enjoy the process of getting a simple exterior, simple interior, and just getting the golems all set up like I was doing last episode. We are building at this awkward angle, which does keep things interesting, but I think it ends up looking kind of cool. Just makes a barn different than the mini barns I've built before. I was feeling pretty good about the exterior at this point. I think it is kind of cool at the weird angle there, but I'm ready to work on the interior here, where, like I said, it's going to be just a place for our copper golems to help us sort all our crops mainly. And I'll actually probably end up bringing meats and stuff in here too, but yeah, it's got our chests all laid out, so they'll visit them in order from closest to furthest. And I've got crops all organized in the chest. We'll go ahead and test them out, give them some pumpkins and some melons, see if they look through all the chests before they get here. And I know I've showed this process a couple times, but it's just something I kind of want to hammer home, because I feel like a lot of people kind of talk bad about the golems, but I feel like if you just know what they're capable of and what they're not capable of, they're pretty useful. So yeah, you can see they go through all the chests in order. Well, then we'll put a test one in here of an item that doesn't have a spot in a chest. And the last place you want them to visit is a chest going into a hopper so that they can drop out whatever is in their hand if they didn't find a spot for it. And that'll just keep them moving. I really like the copper golems. They're such a humongous update, I think. But get them a comfy place to live, we'll get a simple interior set up here. And I definitely envision myself probably overusing this little detail here with the leaves on the outside of the carpets. I just think it looks so good, especially with the wheat and the pumpkins going with the theme in here. I think it's a cool little carpet. Like I said, just keeping it simple, just getting a few blocks added in. I actually went with frames to organize and show what's storing what, which I don't usually do just because I'm trying to not have a bunch of frames in my world. Been in this world for 2.5 years now, almost at 550 megabytes. I'm trying to keep that down. But I think we got this looking pretty cool in here. Get the floor all textured up, as well as the walls. And I think the paintings just really add a lot, as always. They're such a easy thing to add that just looks so good and adds color. And I know this doesn't really have much of a barn theme going on, but it's doing what I want it to do. Yeah, like I said, I think this just looks cool from out here. I think building at the interesting angle, like I said, just differentiates it from the many barns I've built before, and simple but cool up there. And I do plan on coming back and doing some landscaping around it and build it into the mountain a little more, but I want to get back to the field down here. Gonna start by just widening the river here a little bit before I fill it in, and then just work towards making it beautiful. And a change that I don't remember hearing anything about, and it took me a minute to comprehend what was going on, but now the water turns grass to dirt, which is really cool, because when you put a river in like this, it just turns all the grass to dirt underneath the water. So even without any terraforming, it looks a little better, but we got to do some serious terraforming here. I think this ends up being the coolest little river section I've ever made. And I just think this looks so cool, so lush and alive. And I can come back with a few different plant types, make it look probably even a little better, but I'm really happy with where it's at for now. But what's really going to bring it all together is when I get these waterfalls going from the top here. We already have these streams going through here, so we're going to extend these across the walkway here and put a couple little bridges in and get some waterfalls going. And we'll probably come back and add a little to these bridges, but I will say, even this little simple bridge here works out better than I was thinking it might have. But this is always one of my favorite projects, getting a nice little natural waterfall going and just directing the water how I want. And this was a pretty big project here, working from complete scratch. But I think it came out looking pretty cool. Once we started bringing in the moss and the dirt, I really like the way this all came together here. I just think this looks so cool. We've got such a lush area down here. And I will say, with the vibrant visuals and the water being so clear, I know it kind of sucks sometimes as far as the waterfalls goes, but different times of day, it looks really cool, actually. And I think once we get some more down here and some lighting that adds some reflection, I think it's going to look cool. But I just think this is such a cool area, and I could call it done and be happy with it, but I'll be coming back and adding a few things, texturing the stone and getting some stairs and all that. But for now, I wanted to actually work on being able to bring these animals down here, and there's a couple things I want to do before that. Getting the path down, going around here, and just getting the fields all laid out. Starting with a little tree chopping session to give me some room to work for the paths. And I always enjoy expanding my path network. And I put a good amount of work into getting this figured out here. I had to do it all again on this side of the field. It was at this time I figured I was going to put a windmill in right here, so I kind of planned that out a little bit before I continued the path down into the farm here, so I have room to walk around down here. We'll get a little bridge put in here. Nice little walk along the river. Turned out real cool. I went with the pale oak fences. I just love the white fences for animal farms. I just think they look really good. And I really like the shapes we're getting going on. Just no straight lines. Dig the fields back a little bit just to shape them with the fence now that I have it installed. I actually went back quite a bit and gonna have some rock walls working behind them. Again, this ended up being a fairly sizable little side project, but it's gonna look a lot better. And again, we're just kind of getting things placed in. I'll come back a couple more times and add some details here and there, but we get a pretty good base in, I would say. Unfortunately, the clip cut off of me installing this little bridge here, but we just get a little arch going on it. We'll see it here in a second. But it was time to go ahead and take the animals out from underneath my crop fields up there and get them out in the fields, and I'm just real excited to have the life going on down here. And for now, I just got my cows and sheep. We'll expand and get pigs and chickens and other things eventually, but oh man, this just turned out to be so much cooler than I had even envisioned, and I'm just really liking the area down here. By far my favorite little animal area I've ever had. The river especially has just really come together nicely, and the waterfall back there. And the path going around, and I'm just excited to expand that way, and we'll get the windmill in here. From up here, it just looks really good as well. Again, just the shapes we're getting, no straight lines, is just turning out really cool, and I think the river just looks really good. But I'm real excited to get this windmill in here, but before I do that, I want to be fully transparent and let you know I went ahead and visited my original trial chambers to get some copper, mainly just because I don't want to open a bunch of new chunks, and by the time the copper update came out, I had already explored a whole bunch, so it would just be too much work to find more copper, but I really was wanting some copper for my jungle punk theme and my windmill here. I went ahead and grabbed some bamboo while I was out here. I realized I hadn't gotten that yet, and I went and spent a good 2 Minecraft days out just getting a bunch of terracotta because I was running low on that. And on my way back to base, I found a bunch of iron, so I went ahead and grabbed a bunch of that and some coal to end the night. But I was ready to get going on my windmill here, and I thought for this it'd be kind of fun just to stay out of the way for the most part and just really show the process. So enjoy. I really like how it comes together. I did decide, since I was trying to do things different over here in the jungle area with my jungle punk theme, I wanted the blades to be something kind of different rather than your typical windmill blades, so Kind of went with this vertical approach with these kind of crescent copper pieces here that catch the wind and spin around. I think it's kind of cool, just something different. And I really like the way the copper mixes with the yellow we got going here. I did decide to go yellow just because I liked my last yellow building I built so much. I really like the idea of just the pops of color in my jungle here. I think we got a pretty cool little windmill here. Now for a little round of details to bring it all together. And I really like mixing in the wool as we go up here, especially with this yellow wool, just because it is just so much brighter than the terracotta. It really gives a pop of brightness to the building, and I think it just looks really good. I ended up going majority wool, actually, almost the whole top I did wool. And yeah, that just really gives that pop that I'm looking for. If it was all terracotta, it wouldn't pop quite like that. I just think it looks really good. And then I got back to just putting a few final details in just to get the basics in, and we'll be coming back and giving round 3 and probably round 4 eventually. That's kind of my plan for the area, is not be afraid to really come back and detail things. I'm really liking how these stone walls are coming together over here in this area, just really creating an interesting little crater, like I said earlier. And as I've been doing, just replacing a lot of the regular grass with moss and sneak a tree in there, and I'm feeling really good about this at this point. I just think it looks really cool standing all on its own over there. It creates really cool depth with the mountains behind it. This time of day especially, just a really good view of it. And from over here, just again with the mountains behind it, it just really does a lot to bring the area together. It's hard to imagine the area without it now that I got it there. I always love building a windmill. And I think these blades just look kind of interesting, even though they don't stand out like a normal windmill blade. I think they look cool. And yeah, thought I'd just finish things off by just doing some random projects that I've just been kind of pushing to the side, kind of forgetting about continuity and just letting things roll, starting with getting some street lamps going around. And I did go back to my trial chambers and got a few more of these copper bulbs because I've never used them for street lights, and I think they just go really good with the theme. So I've got a big project of getting them spread around. Then I decided for my area over here with my mob farm and my storage area and all that, I was going to go ahead and replace these lights since I had enough. And I deoxidized these ones so they'd be orange and kind of differentiate and just match with the pillars that were going already. I think they look pretty good. Kind of a tedious project getting all these going. Eventually I'd like to come and replace all the buttons with daylight sensors, assuming those work on copper bulbs. I think it would be cool to have the lights turn off and on at night and day. But I think they're looking really cool. But we were spending our night times, and this was a never-ending project, getting rid of all the torches and finding some places for hidden lighting and hiding some pumpkins under some green carpets, or jack-o'-lanterns I should say. And I worked on this every night. And a good place to hide them in the farms or where you have your water, because it can come through the slab. I remember when light used to not come through slabs. It's really nice it does, for the most part. But then I wanted to give my windmill a purpose over here, which right behind it is the spot where I've been going up and down to get to my big underground area that I found in episode 2, and that we are going to be doing a tree farm down here eventually, I think. Definitely a really cool area, really overgrown at this point, kind of annoying, but for now I just wanted to get the elevator shafts going, and I actually lost the clips of me putting these together, but I did go up at nighttime once again and work on getting rid of my torches and hiding some lighting. But then I got back to the elevator shafts, and yeah, just fill one with water, drop on down, get the water stopped from flowing because we're going to make them all water sources. And put a piece of dirt down and just use kelp to go all the way up. And that turns them all into water sources, so I can drop back down, replace it with soul sand, and we'll have a nice fast elevator to get up and down a lot faster than using the ladder. It'll Might inspire me to come down here a little more, but I'm trying to kind of stay away from it and stay building up top as much as I can for as long as I can, but really cool having this elevator to be able to get going up and down at least. And what do you know? Spent a whole nother night going around hiding some lighting. Really big project, but so worth it. And it's always a project I actually enjoy doing. I always put it off for way too long. Spent the next day going around my path and just making it a little easier to traverse, get this staircase in and get some slabs, just make it easier to walk around. And another thing I've been wanting to do was a little test with my waterfalls here, thinking if I put mud behind where the water actually flows, it would make the water a little more visible, just because with Vibrant Visuals, the water is just so clear, but I was thinking with the mud behind it, it might just make it a little more obvious that the water's there, and it really did the trick. Some lightings, it doesn't look this obvious, but you could really see, you can tell it's a waterfall now. Sometimes you couldn't even tell because you couldn't even see the water. So I went all around and did that, including in the little streams. And it really helped when I remembered that I could use a glass bottle and just use the water to fill and make my own mud myself. So it actually went pretty fast, and definitely something I'm going to start doing in my streams. Then I also decided I didn't like so much leaves and greenery on my windmill here, so I replaced a lot of the leaves with just some vines, as well as some glow lichen to kind of control the spread of the vines, because I know they're going to go like crazy, but I'll get more glow lichen. And lastly, I wanted it to appear that these blades were spinning, so I needed to put a little break in the windmill here just so it looked like it was a different part of the mechanism that could be spinning there. So I just used some pale oak for that, kind of go with the theme. But yeah, I'm just really happy with the progress we made this episode. So much more than I was thinking when I set out on this project, and I think the lighting just looks really good. I think the copper bowls just kind of have a fluorescence about them that I'm not really used to. I haven't used them much, and I've never used frog lights, so I just think they look really good. And just this whole area down here, by far the coolest little river I've ever built, and this little bridge, just the vibe is just all there. And just getting all the torches gone, and my windmill rising above everything over here. The yellow, just such a nice pop. I'm really glad I took away a bunch of the leaves just so you can see more of the yellow. And just everything is coming together better than I might have even imagined when I set out on this whole project over here. This whole jungle area has just really got me inspired. And we'll expand on this farm area, get more room for more animals eventually, but I'm just really liking it down there. My little streams here, I'm just really liking it. We'll go ahead and go to sleep so we can check things out in the daytime. And I want to say I've really been enjoying playing on Vibrant Visuals again. There's been a couple times where the performance might have hiccuped a little bit, but for the most part, it's been running really good. Definitely better than at first release. I'm really liking it. And yeah, I'm just really liking our area down here. I did have an area where the majority of my sheep escaped, so I'm going to have to refill the pin there, but I got that fixed for now. And yeah, just our windmill over here just looking awesome. Just the area overall, just nestled in these mountains, just creates so many opportunities for cool views and cool projects, and I'm just really looking forward to expanding on it. So if you want to follow along with that and like what you saw to this point, I'd really appreciate it. Hit that like, subscribe button, and it'd be fun to see you again. And as always, I appreciate you all for coming, and have a good day. Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Lynn, and today we're just going to make a whole bunch of progress building up the area a little bit. Going to finish these buildings for the most part, exteriors and interiors, bring them up to par with these guys over here a little bit, and just bring some function to the world. Going to hide some auto farms, get a smelter over here. I'm going to add a few buildings, hide a few more auto farms, but first, I just want to make some progress on bringing these buildings up to our standards here. And again, the theme of this area is just going crazy with the colors. And I know in some areas it might get kind of color heavy, but I'm really having fun with it actually. And I think one of the coolest details of all this that I do here is adding in the wool, mixing in at the top of the roofs just to really give a pop of light, and it just, you'll see when I step back, it just looks really good. And another addition I'm doing over here is using some glass panes instead of some fences, just trying to get that more futuristic look. I think it looks really good. and it just kind of set me off on trying to get a bunch more glass incorporated. I don't have many of the blocks to try to go with my jungle punk theme quite yet, but glass is a good start. I just think it looks really good. So I'm just gonna chip away at these buildings for a second. I think this looks cool with the glass going down the corners here. I'm really looking forward to experimenting with the glass. Right now I'm just kind of getting a simple layout. We will come back and detail these even a little more later. And this building is going to be my nether portal, so I ended up swapping the materials out, making it out a nether rack with the red wool at top for the pop of light. And again, I think the wool giving that pop of light at the top on all the buildings is just a really cool detail that I'm going to take and run with for this whole area. And I'm just really liking the colors. The buildings just stand out so much more from a distance when you get a little further away. I just think it looks really good. And we are going to come back and get going on the interiors and bringing some function to the area. But first, we're going to go back in time a little bit just because I didn't want to start the episode with this long, grindy session. But I did finally upgrade my tools and armor a little bit, and the way I went about getting my levels was just going back and forth and getting a bunch of the sculpt from underneath my area, which luckily I do have just a whole bunch of deep dark and a whole bunch of sculpt. It really is just a great way to grind up your levels, especially when you have an efficiency 5 hoe. And I did have to go down a few times and get some diamonds as well, just because I was really going through the tools. I had pretty good luck, I would say, as well as getting a bunch of materials. But it was lots of trips going back and forth, as you can see. I am trying to show a certain amount of it just so you can really feel the grind. Did some combining of some tools as well, which really went through the levels. Made for some longer trips going back and forth down, getting some sculpt. I did find this geode though as well, right below our area, so that's a really good find. We'll get some easy access to that here at some point. And I just kept plugging away, going back and forth. And I'll admit my goal was to get a lot closer to more of a perfect set of armor and tools before I really started using them, but this took quite a while and I got fairly close. We got a decent set of armor. I need to get unbreaking on a few things. That's one of the main things I'm missing, and never got a silk touch pickaxe, which I need to get that still, but for the most part we're looking decent enough to get going. I think the rest I'll just kind of do off camera, off to the side. I don't need to bring it into every video, but it does feel good to be armored up. I couldn't help myself but put my new efficient tools to some work and did a little resource gathering session. I was going to need a whole bunch of terracotta as well as some sandstone because I know I want at least one building of that. So now we're back in real time and we're going to get some interiors done on these buildings. I want each building to have some kind of purpose or function. Starting with this white building here, I'm going to hide a smelter in. I always like to have a little smelter. I usually just go like an 8 furnace smelter. Tends to do good enough for me. One of these days I'll make a nice big smelter, but I think this looks good. You've seen me make these before. We got it working, and I did kind of have to extend a rock wall behind so that I could extend the smelter a little bit. That's always a good trick, is to just put a rock wall if you want to have more room in your interior. And this will be the place that my stonemasons hang out. Once I get villagers over here, I don't think I'm going to worry about that today, but yeah, we got this looking cool enough in here. I think the painting's just getting pops of color. Looks good from the outside as well. And the yellow building is going to be where my librarians work, separate from my enchanting area. So we just got this looking like a little bit like a library. Nothing too fancy. I didn't have too many books. I would have liked to have had more full bookcases, but we'll expand that over time. But again, just getting some color in here. Looks a lot cooler when you're walking by. And then this awkward angled building next to it's going to be where a few of the villagers live. So it's just a simple little villager house, but be a nice comfy place for them to live. I think we got it looking pretty cool. And then my enchanting area. Nothing too fancy, just get some painting, some lighting, a couple plants. I think these windows just make it look a lot cooler from in here as well. And the nether portal just gave it a little shape. And I did go with a purple glass ceiling, which kind of prompts some ideas for later. I think it looks pretty cool in here. And yeah. Lastly, we got the weird angled building. Again, this is just going to be a place for a few villagers to stay. I do like to have comfy places for my villagers, and this will be a free roaming villager area. I'm just not worrying about that today. I'm going to wait till I have the area a little more established and make sure it's nice and safe before I decide to worry about bringing them all over. But yeah, I think we got it looking really cool here, and it just always feels good to get some interiors done, and I'm going to really try to keep up on the interiors over here, not have a bunch of buildings saying that I'll come back and do the interiors later. I'm going to try to keep filling them up as I go. Even if it's not too fancy, it's just always nice to get a little something in there. And I'll be coming back this episode and at least doing some details on the exterior. We're not quite done with the exteriors yet either, but I think the interiors are to a point where I'm satisfied enough. I will pick certain interiors here and there to go heavier on the details on, but just getting something in there is more than enough for now. And I am looking forward to coming back and adding on to these a little bit. I've got a couple ideas, but we'll do that a little later because I've been wanting to expand down here since I've pretty much had this path put in, and I will come back and change this building. We're going to go sandstone for that. And this is where we're going to really have some micro farms hiding. But first, I need to clear the area and give me some room to work. I did put this staircase in over here. I've been wanting to get this in, again, since I've had this path laid out. So this links things up and feels good. I'm going to start trying to use some deep slate rather than just using cobblestone in all my places that I'm putting up a stone wall. Start using some deep slate just to get that little pop of darkness. And I did end up expanding my path up this hillside quite a bit. I always like expanding the path. And it feels good to be up here and start to be able to visualize what it's going to look like. And yeah, I just really like this jungle area. Super special area to be building. One of my favorites ever, I think. I've said that before. But yeah, we put in a whole bunch of work doing some landscaping, making the area just look a little prettier. I'm really liking just mixing in these stone walls when I can find a spot. And yeah, I got clearing out just a few more trees, give myself a little more space. And I don't believe I let this happen. I knew the axe was getting low too, and I told myself the whole time I wasn't going to let that happen, and then I just got chopping. I'm embarrassed. Luckily we have a second axe with efficiency on it, but nowhere near as good as the other one. So that's super annoying after just putting in all that work to upgrade my tools. But we did get some good work done here, getting this area prepared, a few places for some new buildings. Gonna get a nice tall building right here, gonna look real good. I think I'm gonna do a custom tree right here. But yeah, I've got kind of a visualization for where I want to sneak a few buildings that I'm gonna hide some auto farms in, and first we'll just kind of draw it out. Starting with my pumpkin and melon farms, which are gonna go right here, and I'm actually gonna extend the wall out this way, so these will be built into the wall, and I'm doing that so that I don't mess up the view for all my other buildings. I'm trying to keep the view in mind. I don't want to block things too much. That's why I'm going to have some areas where I build into the wall. But that doesn't mean there won't be areas for full buildings. And this is going to be my bamboo farm here. And it'll be a little bit of a taller building. This is going to be my cactus farm. And as I'm going down the mountain, I'm not being afraid to have the buildings be a little bigger. It'd be best to have bigger buildings at the bottom of the hill and smaller buildings at the top of the hill. I'm not going too crazy with it, but yeah, now that I had them all kind of drawn out, I went and started filling things in. And another big advantage to extending the land out over these buildings a little bit is it gives me areas to have greenery. I don't want to get rid of all the greenery and just replace it with buildings. I really want to have a mix of green areas in my world here. I did spend the night lighting things up a little bit. Yeah, you can see we got these buildings built into the walls here, starting to come together. And while I was at that, I figured I'm going to sneak one more building up here, and this is going to end up being a sheep farm. And this one will be for my light blue wool. I hope to have a little building for every color over time. Yeah, like I said, this is going to be my bamboo farm, and we're going a little taller with that one. Same for the cactus farm down here. These are kind of bigger buildings. This one I needed to be this big just because how I like to lay out my cactus farm. Extended the land down, made it fit in a certain amount. We got it looking decent enough. Did the same up here for the bamboo farm. I was just in a really good work mode. I'm cutting this up pretty fast, but I will say this has been a lot of work. And yeah, this building, I've been wanting to replace the terracotta here just because I didn't like the darkness. Wanted it to be something brighter, and I think sandstone works perfect, especially since we're going to turn it into a sugarcane farm, and I think sandstone works for that. So, yeah, I just think we got things looking really cool. I'm liking the layout. I am going to use bamboo for the trim on this. I just don't have much bamboo, but I did want to show you just kind of the color scheme. Going really yellow, going to have bamboo on the roof as well. And for the cactus farm down here, I went with some mossy cobble. I thought that was a good mix of colors. Recently, I've kind of liked having the trims blend with the color of the building a little more rather than it being completely contrasting. I think it just keeps it cleaner a little bit. When you have the contrasting trims, it just makes a whole bunch of lines and just looks a little messier. I have a little mix of both, but yeah, like I said, I want to turn those into auto farms, and I need a bunch of iron to make that happen. So I spent a good trip out here getting a bunch of iron, as well as I'm going to want to have a bunch of glass for a project later as well. So I got a bunch of sand while I was out there, as well as a bunch of quartz because I needed to make a bunch of observers. And obviously the iron went towards a bunch of hoppers and mine carts. And yeah, we're just going to kind of fly through these for the most part. You've seen me do these a few times. There's so many videos out there showing you how to do them. I'm not trying to break the mold. They're just your typical auto farms. Get a cart system underneath ready to pick up your items, and some observers to observe when they grow, and some pistons to chop them down. Can do the same thing over here for what's going to be the bamboo farm. Had to get a little fancy with the cart system here since I got this awkward shape, but still the same concept. I did want my bamboo to be visible from outside through the window, so it made this a little more complicated. We got a cool little room here. Again, we'll be coming back and decorating these rooms. Right now I'm just trying to get the farms in. This one being the pumpkin farm, and for now I'm just going to do one section, but one of the reasons why I wanted these built into the wall like this for the pumpkin and the melon farm is so that I can come back and expand them back if I need to, since pumpkins and melons are two of the main blocks I use for trading. So for now we'll just get one section in, but I do envision maybe coming back and extending them back and getting lots of pumpkins and melons. I had to get the melon farm in, had to do some clearing out to make some room for it. But it feels good to have these all installed, and even if they're not huge farms yet, they'll still be producing a good amount in the background. It's nice to have things being passively produced. And I'm doing a cactus farm over here, which I've already got so much green dye at my other one. I don't even really know why I'm building this, but I think there might be a time in the future when I really find a use for some serious green dye. I do like the idea of mixing in more green terracotta in my landscapes, so in the future this might come in handy. Good little collection system in here, and yeah, it feels good getting these farms in. We'll get the couple sheep farms installed over here as well. Gonna be fun just getting these sheep farm buildings spread throughout the area. Again, one for all 16 colors eventually. But before I get back into build mode, I spent a little time enchanting another axe, and I got a pretty good one here, as well as fixing my boots, and they were just about to break, so I'm glad I caught them. Then I just spent a little time gathering some materials I knew I was going to need, and I was going to need a whole bunch of stained glass, which I'm just real excited to start incorporating that into my area here. So yeah, figured it was time to go ahead and bring these new buildings up to the next level of detail here. We got this chest all filled up with the majority of the materials I'm going to need, so I can just get in a nice focused state and just keep on building. Just going through the steps of the process, assembly line style like I like to do, and I think it all comes out looking pretty good. And again, I'm really liking incorporating these glass panes. I think it's just an easy little change up that really creates for this area to have its own little style here. And yeah, I like how these little buildings came together. Get them a little patio, so it just looks a little more established. And yeah, still simple. I plan on there being a time in the future where I really come through and give these buildings an overhaul when I have more things to really go with the cyberpunk theme, like end rods and maybe even frog lights, which I've never used before. But I'm just building with what I got. But I think the glass is a good start to just create this futuristic vibe down here. I really liked how the cactus one turned out with the glass along the roof there. We'll check it in the daylight here in a second. And I did make the decently long trek out to the bamboo forest because I needed a bunch of bamboo for this building and it hadn't produced enough yet, but I like that we got this little bamboo theme going on here. Very yellow, but I like it. And then just keep it simple for the sheep farm here. I really like how the sugarcane farm comes together here. I really like the birch and the sandstone combo. That's something I want to start doing a lot more often because I think it looks really good, especially with the lime green that we got mixed in here. I think we're looking really cool. So getting all the new buildings to what I like to call stage 1 of finished, where it's good enough to leave and feel good with, but you can definitely come back and bring things to the next level, but they've at least got the basics. And yeah, now that we got the buildings in place, I thought I'd get spreading the greenery around, which I definitely want to keep a theme for the area, and I'm pretty much just trying to cover everything with the moss. I just think it makes the hills look a little smoother without all the exposed dirt, and we still get the benefit of the green jungle grass just because the tall grass still has that nice green. Yeah, put some melons and pumpkins outside their shops here. Got a little sidetracked for a second, but my main thing was just spreading moss all throughout the area, as well as some bamboo in front of the bamboo place. And there are places that I could put a building, but I'm going to try to put some custom trees. I'm just putting a temporary one for now. We'll see what it looks like here in a bit. But yeah, and when I got down here, I couldn't help myself but wanting to make this a nice little waterfall area. Again, I was almost going to squeeze a building here, but I like the idea of doing things like this. It keeps the view open for one thing, and I'm just really trying to incorporate the nature in the area. Got this little area looking really cool here. Unfortunately, we missed when we actually put the water in, but I'm mixing in a bunch of oak leaves, just another shade of green, just getting all these different shades of green, which I think is just looking really good. And picking out some spots to just go really heavy with the leaves, which made me decide for the buildings, I'm going to go less heavy. So I took a bunch of leaves off some of my old buildings just because I think it will make them stand out a little better when I get some nice thick greenery behind it. But yeah, one last main thing I want to do is this little roof line. It's kind of boring to me. I was liking it for a bit, but I had the crazy idea to put some stained glass roofs of different shapes and sizes. This is the enchanting area, so I thought this kind of whimsical roof was cool. And yeah, when I stepped back, I was really glad I went ahead and did this. I think it just looks so cool. This is the smelter. Give it an orange roof, kind of representing the fire. And this is my plants storage area, so give it the nice lime green roof. I'm not trying to do it to all of them, just a few select ones, but yeah, once you put the light underneath, come out and take a peek at nighttime, and oh man, I just think this is looking so cool. Such a cool last minute addition that just really brings a whole new vibe to the area and gets me excited about the possibilities of what we're going to do with all these new buildings. I just think the glass roofs just look really cool, especially at nighttime. And we'll go take a peek from down here. I just think this looks so cool, especially when I bring in some custom trees. I think that's just really going to help. But yeah, just making that roof line not so even and just embracing the colors, like I said. Speaking of which, I replaced some of the texturing on a couple of these buildings with that wool just because I'm really growing to like that really saturated colors on top of the buildings. Just really makes things pop. And last little chore I did was just a little work on this road down here, mainly for the thumbnail. It was just looking too plain as just the path block, so I went ahead and did my little road pattern that I've been doing, as well as put some street lights along this area. And although I could just keep building, I think this is a good time to call it an episode. We got so much done today, and it's official. This area has to be my favorite area I've ever built. I've got a lot in this world. I know I say that a lot, but I really feel my building game just stepping up a little bit, I feel like, personally. Let me know if I'm crazy or not. But yeah, I think this little area down here, these buildings will get a little more TLC eventually, but it's nice. We got the farms working in them. I messed up at first, so they weren't producing at first, but now I got them working. Don't have the interiors done on all these yet, but they're at least functional, and I think just looking really cool. And yeah, just this area overall, getting this nice green feeling going on. I think these buildings do just look a lot better without being so messy with so many leaves all over them. And these buildings just stand out so much better with wool as the texture. And this one I still got to figure out what I'm going to do with. Kind of neglected that one for this point, but yeah. The main thing was one of the last things I did, which was these glass roofs, though, which, like I said, really inspire me for what the rest of the area could turn out to be, just because it's definitely its own unique thing from anything I've done before. It does kind of go away from the realistic approach that I was kind of going with at first, but I like the idea of just embracing the color and just the craziness. I think it's looking really cool, especially at nighttime. And yeah, from down here, it stands out a lot more than it did, especially the wool on the buildings just make them pop so much more. And yeah, next episode is going to be a very nature-filled episode. A little bit to do with trees in a couple different ways. And yeah, if you liked what you saw, always appreciate a like and a sub. Would love to see you again. And as always, thanks again for coming and have a good day. Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Lynn, and today it's going to be a very nature-filled episode after a whole bunch of building last episode, expanding our area here, and I really think we got this looking really cool. I'm just really liking my jungle area here. Today we're going to focus on getting a waterfall flowing down here into a big lake in the center of the area. It's going to be a lot of work, as well as turning a couple of these into some custom trees and just starting to bring the jungle vibe back a little bit to the area. But first, I want to make my way down to the big old cave that we've explored a few times that I've been planning on turning into a tree chopping area. I just think this is such a cool cave down here, and we're just going to cover the majority in dirt, get a waterfall going down here and a river going across this way, and I think it's just going to be a really cool area. But first, we got a big grind ahead of us, placing a whole bunch of dirt. And I want to throw it out there that I'm building most of this episode on stream, so most of this is all done live on stream, so come check it out. I've been having fun with that. And we did go down to get some XP to upgrade my tools, and we found an iron vein right under my base, which is definitely a nice find. But then I spent a little time just repairing my tools. Since I don't have mending, a lot of them don't have unbreaking. That's going to be a challenge to keep up with for a little bit until I get them all fully upgraded. And I went back down in the cave and wanted to start figuring my river out here, and I knew I was going to want it to go through this wall, so I started chipping away at this and just kind of planning out the area a little bit. And like I said, the source is going to be a waterfall coming from the ceiling here, so I kind of figured where that was going to be and just started mapping out my little river. I will say one thing that's going to happen every now and then if I'm making the episode on stream is I'm going to miss a clip here and there, and I lost the majority of me getting this river cleared out, but we got it flowing with a really cool little curve through here, and then I got going on placing a whole bunch of dirt, including on the riverbed, which I'm going to turn into mud when the time comes. Just planning ahead there. And yeah, I think the dirt ended up just looking really cool. I was originally planning on changing it to grass, but the brown definitely just looks a lot better since we got so much green in here already. So, filling the river in. And like I said, turn the dirt to mud and get some moss around the edges, and it ends up being a pretty simple little process to get a really cool looking river here. I really like the shape and the bend of it, and it's just got a good amount of life. I went ahead and repeated the process a little bit with a couple more little streams running through the area here. I did end up running out of bone meal, so I couldn't get bone meal on both streams, but you can definitely get the idea of what I'm going for down here. I think it's looking really cool. I almost like it without the trees, to be honest with you. And I do plan on, in the long term, being able to come back and like put some buildings around the edges. But for now, we're just focusing on the tree chopping area and make it functional. And I think we got a really good start down here. I'm just really liking it. I think this river is just super cool. I really like the way it winds through and it's perfect size. I'm really excited to come back and start building down here, but first, I want to come up top, which, like I said, I plan on turning a couple of these into some custom trees, so I was going to need some leaves anyway, and I need to chop all these trees down. So I just went ahead and got started on that. And I will say, I ended up going a little crazier than I was planning on when I jumped into this project. I've had in the back of my mind to get a little lake down here, but I wasn't planning on it being today. But I chopped all these trees, got this area opened up for a lake, and I was just real excited about the idea. So I got digging some dirt, since one of the main reasons I came up here was because I needed a bunch more dirt for my tree farm area down there. So killing two birds with one stone. And I really like having this new perspective of my area down here, especially at nighttime. Our areas just look so cool up there, and it's just really cool having the clean view from below. But definitely made a project of getting this lake cleared out, and I'm just really looking forward to getting this going, especially getting this waterfall going over here, which I was reminded in chat that I do like building tiered waterfalls, and that sent me on a much bigger project than I was originally planning on, but I'm really glad I ended up doing it. I really do enjoy building these types of waterfalls, and all waterfalls for that matter. But yeah, just started off by cleaning the area up a little bit, giving me a clean slate to work and visualize, and we're just gonna have some waterfalls going around this guy here and working their way down the mountain. And I always enjoy figuring out the flow of the falls. And we're just gonna have a whole bunch of pools. So I started figuring out just all different levels, and we'll end up going and putting a border around them and just letting them slowly flow into each other and working their way down the hillside here. And I did want the source of the waterfall to be nice and high in the mountain here, so I had to work my way up there as well. And I definitely prefer to use the original Minecraft terrain to kind of dictate the flow of the water. And I did work through the night, and really cool view of the area down there at nighttime. But yeah, we wanted it to be coming from a source here nice and high in the mountain, and then just work my way down. And like I said, using the original Minecraft terrain to dictate what you do a little bit kind of forces you to end up with different looking waterfalls, for that matter. But you can obviously do your own thing as well, which I am with these little pools, but we gotta turn them into pools by putting some rocks around the edges that'll contain the water. And this is the point you can really start to visualize what I'm going for here with the little pools. And just getting the stone mixed in makes it look like a nice natural formation. And I just kept finding areas where I was going to add to my waterfalls and figure things out. And then I started filling the pools. And it was really starting to feel like it was coming together. And getting all the original waterfalls started all around the mountain that flow into it. And this is always one of the more satisfying parts of making the waterfalls, making sure everything flows well. And then I just kind of cover the outside of the flow with some stone, and we'll slowly but surely make this look better over time. But just getting stone in there makes it more obvious it's the waterfall. And then I opened up the pools so that they'll start flowing into each other. And placed a couple more waterfalls, figuring those paths out as we go. Working my way down the mountain here, and I just think it's looking so cool. Got down to the bottom and realized I needed to make a couple more pools right along the lake. Got those put in real quick. And then it will be flowing right into the lake. And I just think it's looking so cool. I know I keep saying that, but I'm just really excited about the expansion of this area. I got filling the lake in as well, and this was a super satisfying water fill. I was just going down the left side, and I'd put one bucket, and it would go all the way to the other side. I didn't realize it could be that easy. And I just think it's looking really cool. I do want to expand on this lake a little bit, but we got a good start on it for something I wasn't even planning on really doing this episode. And just kind of chipped away at the details, fixed the floors on a couple pools, and I need to do more of this over time. But just getting more stone in, covering the dirt, making it look more like a natural waterfall. And always bringing the moss in is a big step up. Getting a few trees put in and bringing in some other leaves just to get the different colored greens. That's a big thing I'm really trying to embrace in the jungle here. And oh man, safe to say it's my favorite waterfall ever, and we still got some details to do, bring some stairs and slabs in and texture things a little bit, but I think as far as just the flow of the water down the hillside here and just the size of the pools, I'll probably shrink them a little bit as I detail things, bring in a little more land. But man, I just think this is really cool and a lot bigger project than I was intending when I set out for this, but super glad I did it. And we did all this on one stream, which was pretty crazy. It's been a productive few streams here. And we got this stream connected to the lake down here as well. And we'll come back and step up the waterfall a little bit here, and over time we'll detail the lake. That'll be more of a long-term project, but I'm just real excited for the area down here, that's for sure. Between streams, someone had mentioned the idea of making a bone meal farm, a moss and bone meal farm, but I looked things up and I decided to just do this simple little bone meal farm, which I didn't even realize you could do on bedrock like this. And I am just following a tutorial, but I do want to point out, I think this is the first Minecraft clock I have ever made. I don't think I've ever made a farm with a little Minecraft clock like this, but yeah, I'm just following the tutorial of JC Plays. I think a lot of us follow his tutorials for things like this. So I won't necessarily show the process here, but in the end we end up with a little automatic bone meal farm here. I'm glad I looked this up. It'll definitely be something I start adding to my areas here. And I always thought this was kind of farm you could only make on Java, so I was pleasantly surprised. I did learn my lesson in that you do have to stay around it. You can't just leave it running and keep unloading the chunks here and there, or it will break. But to be able to come down here and just hang out for a few minutes and get some bone meal to do a project, definitely a lot better than having to go and hunt a bunch of skeletons. And yeah, I decided it only made sense to put this to some use and turn the building into a bone meal building. Half bone meal. A lot of white wool as well, just because it's kind of my style around here. But yeah, I think this looks cool, and I'm just real excited to have the bone meal farm going. Might be a little loud and annoying when it's running, but it's kind of cool having the industrial sound. I will say I wish I made it a little bit bigger. I will probably make a bigger version in the future, but I was ready to get back down in the cave and get to work. And off camera, I placed a whole bunch more dirt, just getting a little more room for my tree planting here, but you'd already seen a lot of that. What I was really looking forward to was getting my path network figured out here. And again, this is all done live on stream, and unfortunately, I missed a good amount of the clips again getting this path organized. But you'll see the general process as we get going here. Definitely just bringing some structure to the area, and I just think we get this area looking really cool. I end up going with the white planks as the border. I think it just pops really well against all the brown, and I installed a few little bridges, got a staircase going up top to my water vader to the top level. And yeah, getting these bridges figured out, I think they just look really cool, especially this angled one across the river here. And now that I had my bone meal farm, I was able to get more bone meal spread around. And I came up with this little design for some lanterns through the area, which I think ends up looking really cool. Using lots of pale oak, but again, I think it just pops really well. I was going for the contrast against all the brown. And yeah, I think this is a cool little design for some lanterns. I was originally going to use some jack-o'-lanterns, but the lanterns look a little cooler there. Yeah, got a path around the backside and along the river down there. I just think we're looking really cool. I did have to go and get rid of a whole bunch of vines here, so I came up to the ceiling and got rid of them at the source. Really annoying, but it wasn't quite as bad as I had made it out to be. Nice to have them cleared at the source, and got rid of a bunch of the torches and hid a few jack-o'-lanterns under some carpets and placed some slabs along the road, make it easy traversing, and then it was time to plant some trees, but unfortunately I didn't have a whole bunch of saplings, so we're just going with what we got. This big area I'm planning on being dark oak and pale oak combined. Then I'll have a spruce area here, and a mangrove area here, and a birch area. And I'm not worrying about oak or jungle wood over here because I'm getting so much of that up top. And I'll expand on this over time and probably have areas for those down here. But yeah, I think for what I set out to do today, I couldn't be happier with what we got down here. I just think this looks so cool. Like I said, I almost like it without the trees in it. I probably won't be afraid to just leave it empty sometimes and come down and just use bone meal to grow them fast when I want them. But I just think it's looking really cool, and we'll expand and get some buildings down here in the future. But right now I just wanted a nice functional tree farm. But after being down in the cave for a while, I was ready to come back up and get back to work on the waterfall, and it was looking just as cool as I remembered. But I was ready to start going through with some stairs and some slabs, just adding a little bit of shape and texture to the area. And adding some cobbled deep slate for a little bit of shading, which I think ends up looking really good. Then I did another round of spreading some leaves around, just because we are trying to keep this a nice thick jungle. And we'll have to come back and do this a couple more times, I imagine. But then I got on a whole nother project of getting some paths going over there. I had to figure out how I was going to get across the waterfall to the other side, because I do plan on building over there. So I got working on some paths, and as usual, this turned into a pretty big project. And we are finding a bunch of spots where we're going to have to build some bridges, which I'm really excited for. I'm not going to do all that today, but it's definitely going to look cool getting some bridges along over the waterfall down here, with a big bridge right over here. And I got a path going up top as well. I unfortunately lost a lot of the clips of me getting the top path together, but we got it all laid out. And I actually do come up and get the bridge going up here in a little bit. But for now, I was just getting the foundation, kind of blending it with what we've got already. And I thought we were looking really good. I realized I had to meet the path to the land and clean that up a little bit, just using some stone to clear those areas. And also planting a bunch of flowers and just a bunch of foliage around the waterfall, just another way to bring a bunch of life. I'm just trying to get as much of a variety in there going as I can. And slowly but surely, it's just coming along here. But like I said, the bridge up here, I decided I was just going to do a natural kind of a stone arch bridge. And I just threw it together really quick, live on stream without even thinking about it. And it came together fairly nicely, I thought. We do end up adding a bunch of stairs, which I didn't get the clip of, but that is what kind of adds to the shape. But I got a nice little arched bridge up top, and you can see it's looking really cool down here. Can definitely use some TLC, but for just throwing it together on a whim, I was really happy with how it came out, actually. And we've been looking from this tree down here as kind of our view tree, I would say, and I was really happy with what we got going. And I think that bridge really adds a focal point to the area and just looks really good. But I was ready to get some trees going as well. But before we did that, I wanted to let you soak in how cool this view is in the morning. Every time I get up, I get this reflection off the lake, and it's just looking really good. But imagine how good it's going to look when I turn these trees into custom trees. And my first one here, I was just kind of freestyling a little bit. I had a general idea of what I wanted to go for. And I just got a little dirt platform out a few blocks below the top of the tree, and then I just started working some branches up and connecting them in the middle, trying to have kind of a palm tree look, but oversized palm tree. Just kind of looks like a jungle tree, I would say. Using fences at the end just to thin out the branches and get a few more gaps. Then I go through and just cover the whole branch with leaves. And I almost built the whole tree without dying. It was bound to happen. That's alright. Picked up my stuff and went and cleaned up my scaffolding a little bit. I really chunked out the base of the tree, got some nice fat roots. I just thought that was a good look for a jungle tree, as well as thin up the top a little bit and scrape some of these logs and get the stripped logs so that it's lighter as it goes up. And I think this looks really good. Just getting that interesting shape at the top. It just adds so much shape to the area, and it definitely does the jungle vibe that I'm looking for here. And it really wasn't too hard. Less than a half hour, I would say. So I wanted to do this one as well. Figuring you've seen the process, but got to take you along with me a certain amount. This one was a little more complicated because it was right along my path here, but I think it looks all right. And again, I think it came out looking really good. Wanted to get a third one in over here, closer to the waterfall, kind of frame the picture. Thinking of the thumbnail, if I'm honest with you. And this one ends up being a pretty tall one. And it's fun to just have this way of modifying the vanilla trees. I need to figure this out for all the different tree types. Only 2 deaths in all these trees I built. Could have been worse, right? Not really. I should have been better. This was a tedious process, these 3 big trees. But they really do just add so much to my world here. I just think so much to add to the jungle vibe compared to just the flat tops there. And over time we'll get the rest of these and it's going to look really good. But I wanted to get some of the small ones. This one up here especially was calling my name just to do kind of a smaller version of the same thing. Using leaves just to spread off like a palm tree again. I think it turned out really good. So I did a few more of those. And it's just making the waterfall area again just a little bushier, a little more jungle-like. And it just really gets my fingerprints on the world rather than all the trees just looking vanilla. But it doesn't hurt to have a few vanilla ones mixed in there. But I think the thing that's really cool is the small one up there kind of looks like it's the same kind of tree, just really far away. From certain angles, it'll definitely play tricks on your eyes. And I just couldn't be happier with this area. I know I say it all the time. I've said it lots of times this episode, but I think this is just by far the coolest little nature area. It almost looks like a real life picture in some ways, more than I've really done before. Last couple things I wanted to do just before the thumbnail mainly was I wanted to get a little texture on this building because it was going to kind of be a focal point. And I did go up and change the border on this bridge up top to have some jungle wood I didn't like how it was breaking the path up from a distance. And I got a few more lights put in just to continue that across. At the end I did realize I can't top it off there because that's where I was putting my button. I want everything to be like it is in the rest of the area. But we got so much done today. I'm just really happy with myself, with my production over here, I would say. And a lot of this was done on stream. It was really fun kind of doing it that way. Let me know what you think. I feel like I still got a decent episode put together. And I think I learned a couple things that'll make it easier for next time. But man, I just really think we transformed our area a whole lot today and really expanded our footprint. And I'm excited for next episode. I'm going to hopefully expand it a bunch more. We've been over in this jungle area for 421 days at this point, which has actually gone pretty fast, but I feel like I've really built a lot. And again, I just think this area down here is so cool. And I hope to step it up a little bit still over time, but yeah, I just think it's a special little waterfall. And I wasn't intending to do this whole lake and everything down here. We'll get this all detailed eventually as well, but even just getting it where it's at right now really does a lot to add to the area. And yeah, I'm just really loving building in this area so far, so let me know what you're thinking. If you like what you saw, hit that sub, hit that like. It definitely helps me out. And as always, thank you all for coming and have a good day. Hello, everybody. I'm Jalen, and today we're going to make a whole bunch of building progress. Last episode, we really built up the nature quite a bit with the cool waterfall area over here and cool trees. But today I want to take what we got going on our city up here and expand it to a whole new section of jungle. And I'm really going to try my best to kind of show the process and just have this be a nice, satisfying start to finish process of this all getting built up over here and just expanding my jungle city. And it's going to start with a serious tree chopping session. You can watch the days tick away up there and see that this was a fairly big project. And it's actually kind of crazy for me to really think about how many trees I've chopped at this point in this whole jungle project over here. And I've been putting it to use as well with things like getting this path network figured out. This was a big project here, and I actually did this on stream if you really want to watch it all come together, but I started with just getting this main staircase put in to let me go up and down the hill here, and then I just connected my paths that I already had going. Just kind of making sure everything lined up before I fully committed. And I like how it was looking here. So it was just a matter of getting these paths extended, and it's always a big, enjoyable project for me. But I like carving out the mountain, but I do like to use the Minecraft terrain to kind of inspire my path that I go. That's how you end up with cool different paths. And I did extend it over this canyon, which I wasn't really thinking about doing, but that's somewhere I could definitely build in the distant future. I got a lot I want to do before I'd get to that, but it's always cool having things like that just kind of happen. And I just kept on pathing and finally getting the staircase installed here. And then I wanted to get a path extended on this kind of middle level here and ended up with this cool little curved path going up to meet with the top level. Just kind of came together. And then got this middle level put in, and I think it's looking really cool. I really like the curve of that little path there. Then I went out and used jungle wood for the border, just like the rest of the city. And I think our path network is just looking really cool here. Definitely prepared to get a cool little city built in. Extended down here with the canyon there. And connects to everything we got. And my base all of a sudden is feeling pretty big at this point. But I was ready to start getting a visual for what the buildings were going to look like. And a lot of them I'm going to kind of have be built into the mountain. So I'll extend the rock to kind of be surrounding the building like this. But yeah, just like my area up top, I just started connecting just little groups of buildings together here. And I'm just going around with the wool in different colors. A lot of these might change in the future. But yeah, just getting shapes laid out, trying to get some interesting angles. Over here, I wanted to have a nice tall building, the biggest of them all. And I'm really liking the pop of this blue in the jungle here. And I had this one extend up to the second level as well, just to keep things interesting. And like I said, an interesting mix of colors. I do end up changing a few. But we got 3 levels of buildings put in here. But we got a bunch of buildings laid out, and I think it's looking really cool. And like I said, a lot of them we're going to kind of build into the mountain behind it. I'm going to get a waterfall going over here, flowing into the canyon. But I just think the layout of the buildings are looking really cool. I wanted to get going on building the rock walls for them to be built into, and that way I can extend them into the mountain in the future if I want to be building farms or anything in here yet. I will say today I'm not going to be doing any interiors or farms or giving them any purpose necessarily. I just want to get the area built up. So I got covering the roofs with some natural land. And just cleaning the area up overall, making the staircase make a little more sense, which was a challenge, but ended up looking decent in the end. But yeah, just getting the buildings covered up and bringing the nature back, mix of dirt and stone and grass, and putting some stone connecting our path to the ground just so it's not floating. Getting some tops on a few of the buildings that aren't going to necessarily be built into the mountain. leaving my options open for the future. Extending greenery around like I've been doing all over in the jungle. I just like getting the different shades of green, and all of a sudden, we've got a little city over here. I just think it's looking so cool. I'm really having fun just watching this expand, and my plans to just have this whole jungle filled up. I'm just really liking it. But I wanted to get going on these waterfalls here because I've been seeing this little crevice in the hillside that was just asking for a waterfall, and it's got me inspired. You know I enjoy my waterfalls. I'm just going to get out of the way for a moment and let you watch them come together. And I did put some work in on this waterfall to the left of the city as well that was already there but just needed some decorating. So this was a pretty big project, but waterfalls are just always worth it. And I'm really liking putting mud under the water, just make it a little more visible when I'm using the vibrant visuals. I think it looks really good. So we did that for both little waterfalls we got built here. Then it was time for some details. I was really liking how this was coming together here, but I did get sidetracked for a second, wanting to just get this path connected to the ground down here and make this look a little bit better. So, little side project. One of the best things about Minecraft. And I don't quite know what I'm going to do down here yet. Kind of keep my options open, but just getting it cleaned up, it was kind of messy. So this will be nice to be able to do something with eventually, but when I got back to the waterfall, again wanting to just add different shades of green, and bamboo and sugarcane are great blocks for that. As well as when I'm in the jungle and I got all this azalea going around with the oak leaves, and slowly but surely it just looks a little more natural all the time, and I just think this is looking really good. Like getting this bird's eye view a little bit here, and yeah, the layout overall, and now having the waterfalls on both sides just looking very lush and jungly. We'll be getting some jungle trees in here before too long, but yeah, I just really like the town just placed right between these waterfalls. Really cool. But I had all these little areas that I was going to need to do a bridge in, so I went ahead and made a project of getting some of these bridges done. Again, I'm just going to let you enjoy for a second. And I'm really not going too fancy with the details. I'm not coming with stairs and slabs or anything. I will eventually for sure, but I'm just trying to get the layout going and have something done. And on this one, I can definitely come and put a little arch into it eventually. But speaking of arches, this was a cool little arched one here. And I wanted to make a couple bigger ones using copper, so I went to the trowel ruins and got a bunch of copper and some copper bulbs while I was there, because I'll be needing them to put along my street. But yeah, a couple cool arched copper bridges kind of at these awkward angles, which I feel like I've gotten better and better at building at all the time. It's pretty easy once you kind of figure out the pattern of just following what you laid down originally. I think this came together really cool. I like the way the fences worked out with the angle that it's built at. It made for this interesting little shape. So I did the same thing down here, except this one I kept the copper unoxidized just for something a little different, but pretty much the exact same bridge. I think they came out really cool. Then I went around and just did a few details, adding the street lamps all over the place, which I am out of copper bulbs at this point. I wish I had a few more. And I spent a bunch of time during a couple of the nights going around and hiding some lighting around. That's always a big project. And I chopped a bunch of birch so I could use some birch fences where I didn't have them yet. And oh man, I just thought this was looking so cool over there at this point. Just the way the colors pop at night like this. Something about Minecraft nighttime, once you get things lit up, just always looks so cool. And just getting all these bridges installed, just so as you're walking the path, it kind of shows you that there's a point of interest there, and they're all unique. They're all very simple, and I could definitely go back and use some trapdoors and make things a little cooler, but just getting stage 1 put in, I'm really happy with. Kind of like the buildings. We just got stage 1, now we're working on stage 2. Getting the windows and doors and just simple things figured out on how it's going to be organized. It's starting to look more like buildings. Sometimes working with these awkward angled ones, kind of tough, but it also keeps things different rather than everything just being a box and all looking the same. You kind of end up with more unique buildings, but yeah. Luckily, I had a bunch of glass built up. Started getting that installed. And again, we're building in stages here. I will probably change the glass color in some of these buildings and just change some of the buildings overall once I actually come with the final touch and know what the building's actually going to be. But I spent a bunch of time digging out behind the building as well, at least getting a start on things. That's going to be a project, opening all this up. But a good way to get materials. I always like being productive when I'm gathering my materials. So this is a perfect example of that. And yeah, I think these are looking really cool. But to bring them to the real next level that I think really makes a difference is getting the texture put in. And I've just got this thing going, having the top be quite a bit brighter, oftentimes using wool just because the saturation just really makes it stand out. I feel like especially in vibrant visuals. But yeah, and then for this building, I put a tough bottom section, and I'm using packed ice for the texture on the top with this light blue wool, and I think it looks really cool. It's my favorite texture that I've done. And I like using the netherrack with the red wool. I think that's kind of fun. But yeah, just having these nice pops of brightness as the buildings go up. I think really just has them looking cool. And it was a big project going through and getting all this done. Like I said earlier, sometimes when I cut things down into 20 seconds, you can just watch the days tick away up top and you'll see how big of a project it was. Especially when I'm doing this assembly line style like I like to do so often, just doing one thing I have to do to all the buildings. But man, I think they're looking really cool. But I was ready to bring them up to stage 3. Start getting some details on these. Again, I'm just getting to a certain point. I'm not trying to think of what each building's going to be or anything at this time. I'm just trying to get the buildings in, and then I'm going to be going away from this area for a little while after this episode, but I'll be coming back with all the materials I need and really ready to do some building. And at that time, I might decide to change things up a little bit, but I'm just getting some basic layouts in to where it's a stage of finish that I'm really happy with the project, but able to change it in the future. And I'm not going too crazy either. I'm trying to kind of go a little simpler, less details, have the color pop through a little more. For example, I'm not going to go and cover them all with a bunch of leaves or anything, because I just really like the way that the color is popping from a distance from my other area over there. I just think it looks so cool. Like I said, I think the blue ice with the light blue wool is a really cool texture. And like I said, not covering it with the leaves and all that. It's just going to be brighter from a distance. Then I went around with glass like I did for my buildings up there as well, and just kind of went up the sides and along the top, and I think that's just a really cool detail. So I went around to all the buildings and added a little bits of glass here and there. Again, the plan is to have this all be a jungle punk theme in the future. I'm just kind of limited with my materials, but I do still plan on really coming and transforming into a jungle punk theme at some point. I'm just getting it all laid out at first, and then I'm going to make a big project of that in the future. But I think these little glass additions are something I'm really liking that I got going over here. I got to start sneaking some glass in my builds, glass panes just for shape and color, a little more often. Then I went around and started opening up the little entryways just so that it's not all grass. Just adding a little bit of structure. Again, just one step at a time. But when you're building this many buildings at once, it's a big project to go through and just put in these little entryways. But it all adds up. Then I picked a few buildings to put some of these antennas on top like I have over there. And I'd like to get a few more of these put in. I know I just keep saying it. I just really like how these are coming together. Now we got the details on some of the buildings. They look, like I said, a stage of finished where you can be happy with and move on to the next thing for a while. But I do look forward to going stages above where they're at right now in the future. But I think they look really cool. I really like the glass details. I really like my blue buildings down here. I just think they're looking so cool. And yeah. You can see we just hit day 4,500, which is real exciting. And we started this season on day 4,010, so that means I've got 10 more days until I'm able to go back to my old stuff and move on from this area a little bit. So I just wanted to spend these last 10 days doing a few things that I wanted to make sure I got in before I left, which was getting a couple more trees installed, kind of bookending the area here. I went through doing some of these same style trees in my last episode, so I'm just going to kind of fly through it here. I got to where I can make them in about 25 minutes or so. Pretty high impact 25 minutes, I would say. I think these just look really cool. I like getting them spread throughout my area here. So like I said, I wanted to kind of bookend our city here, so I went and built one over on the other side. Almost made them both without dying. Luckily, I had been using a bunch of my levels to repair my tools, so it wasn't that big a loss. I just got back to work. I know I have a bad habit of taking a peek at things at nighttime sometimes, but you can kind of see what we got going here, just like all the other trees. But it's just cool having the trees just rise above everything we got, and I just think they look really good. But another thing I wanted to do was get a little path going through my whole waterfall area up here, just because I wanted a reason to go down there for one thing and just to ease my way going through this area. It'll definitely be a path I use a lot, so thought I'd sneak this in these last couple days. As well as getting some light spread around down here. I think this looks really good. Then I went around and did a bunch of hidden lighting around the waterfalls as well, just to make them pop at night a little bit. I think it's looking really cool. I'm trying to keep a few dark spots, but yeah, then I went to my area that I had cleaned up around the lake and started spreading some moss and azaleas around. Just getting that different color green and putting some flowers and bushes around my buildings up here. Just making them look a little more established. Then I went all over with a bunch more azalea leaves and regular oak leaves, just spreading leaves around, making things look a little more lively. And then I spent the last few days just clearing out some of the buildings and getting some floors put in and finishing getting some walls put up. And it was a pretty big project, and I didn't quite get them all done, but I just wanted to work my way to day 4,010. Which the sun is about to rise on. And I think we got so much done today. I'm just really happy with the zone I've been in building in this area. We've been over here for 500 days, starting with nothing, and we've got this much built. I think that's just so much more than I've really accomplished in 500 days before, I feel like. And I'm just really liking this area and no lack of motivation to keep going on this. Like I said, I am going to be going away from this area for a little bit, a couple episodes, I think. Just kind of going back to some of my old stuff, and just I want to get a bunch of materials built up so I can come back here and really bring this up to the next level. But I think for where we're at right now, I couldn't be happier with what we got going down here. I thought I would end things off with just a nice little walkthrough of the area. Since I do so much cutting throughout my episodes, you don't really get to just soak things in and see all the cool different views around all the different corners. So I'm just going to walk on through, celebrate day 500. And again, I just couldn't be happier with what we've got going over here. And I'm just really looking forward to this project being something I chip away at for years to come, expanding on the area and just bringing up details and what we've got here so far. I'm really looking forward to bringing the jungle punk theme. And I think that's really going to transform what we got already. But I think our layout's looking really good. And yeah, we hit day 500. So I'm now able to go back to my spawn area and check out some of my old stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing that in the next episode. And yeah, definitely appreciate those of you who made it to this point in the video. Really appreciate any likes and subs. I will be trying to keep it coming for you. And as always, thank you all for coming and have a good day.